What the hell? It's another episode of Nintendo Kids.
What? Is this where we are?
I think so.
Strange place.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We really are here. Yes, we're back.
We are back.
It's been a while. I promised I would post the next one in a timely fashion, and we recorded it in late December, I believe, and I posted it about 2 weeks ago. So I'm very sorry. I don't really know what happened.
I had the YouTube video all rendered and everything for like a month, and then like, oh wait, I never uploaded that.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing. I think we were talking about doing this episode, and I'm like, oh yeah. Well, you know what? Well, just wait a minute. We don't even know the last episode done yet, so threw that up real quick.
Yeah, that'd be really strange. People are like, oh boy, I can't wait to hear what the next the top 10. Why does it go from 15 to 10?
But it is out there. It is out there.
For your listening pleasure.
Yeah, I actually listened to that one, and it's funny. I actually don't listen to our episodes very often because I lived them, So, but I did. I listened back to it, and there's some good stuff. I forgot about some of our top 10 discussion, top 20 discussions. So it was kind of fun to listen to it back and refresh myself. So, it was a good episode. I recommend you listen to it if you missed out on it.
Anyone in particular, or was it the last specific one?
They're all good episodes.
Yes, they are.
But the
selfless promotion.
Yeah, but the last one I thought was pretty good. There was some good conversations. That was the one where we talked about Zelda Wii U, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely we blabbed on about that one for a while. So I recommend. But we're back, and we're going to continue the top 20 list. It'll be later on in the show. But it's been a while. Have you been playing anything lately?
Well, yes. Still not Nintendo, but I have been. I'm sorry, that Kingdom of Amalur just essentially took me over for a while there. But I finally finished it. Final tally was just a little over 135 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So out of my entire life, about 5.5 days of my life, I did the math, was spent playing that game.
Wow.
Yeah. So final thoughts on it. Very good game. I highly recommend it. Thank you again for mentioning it to me that it was on sale. So it was like one of the best $3 I've ever spent.
I know. I spent $60 on that game when it came out.
It was a lot of fun. Really good. Had its good points and its not so good points, but more good than bad, I think. Maybe I could blame myself a little bit for this. I don't want to say it was too easy. I suppose I could have upped the challenge a little bit, but I grinded my levels before I went into areas, so I was stronger than I needed to be, and that's not my fault. It sort of is. It's not my fault they didn't give me strong enough enemies when I did my homework and made sure I was strong enough to get into areas. So I was taking to all the enemies, and I rarely die. I think I died a total of 2 or 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And one of them was just a trap I didn't jump out of the way of on time. So and that was really early on in the game when I had hardly any hit points. Once I don't think I died anywhere in the last like 80 hours worth. I almost had 7 million in gold by the time I was finished.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, this is one of my gripes about the thing is I wish they had a little more variety of weapons and that it scaled a little bit better, because if you leveled up appropriately before you went into areas, the loot you got really wasn't useful. So the weapons I would buy in a shop or the unique items I would find from completing a mission would be significantly better than any sort of loot drop. Although once I got my blacksmithing up, I was able to actually craft some weapons that were way better than anything I was picking up, including a lot of unique items. So it's like, well, I can't even use these really cool looking special items I have, but because the ones I crafted were significantly better. I found out early on if you have any sort of means of getting item that regenerates health, whether it's 0.5 points per second or one. Eventually, I was up to like 10 points per second, I think, with all my things. So like, I wasn't getting down below like a quarter health because things would hit me and I just like my health would just be going right back up while I'm fighting these things. So, yeah, I wish there was a little more weapon variety, and I guess maybe I wish the level cap was higher than 40 because I hit that before I even got into like the final zone like area. Like the continents are each divided up into they don't have technical terms. I call them zones.
Yeah.
So the continent on the left has like 3 zones. There's like the woodsy area, then like the plains, and then this kind of red rock like out west type area. And then on the eastern continent it has like a swampy area, and then a dark stony area. Kind of reminds me like a dark, lots of blues and dark colors and grays. Kind of like Duskwood in World of Warcraft. It reminded me a lot of that. So before I even got to that dark Duskwood area, I already capped out level 40.
Right.
So it's like, well, I just like plowed through everything.
Let's say if you can't beat it by that point, then
yeah. So I kind of wish there was a higher little bit level cap, and I do wish there was a little bit more variety of creatures. I found myself fighting like this, kind of like the same 10 monsters all over again. It's those little like wooden guys. I don't know if you remember them. Kind of had those wooden masks.
Yeah.
Those little impy guys. And it's on the eastern continent, like the bears and the wolves. So you have wild animals. You have those sprites, those are like winged demon things. Then those weird flying Medusa.
I kind of remember them, yeah.
And then you have like the big monsters like the Ettins and those other 2-headed ones. I can't remember their names. And then you also got like those Murloc or troglodyte looking things.
Yep.
And their big snake queen version, and that's kind of really it. I was kind of hoping for some more things.
Yeah.
Like World of Warcraft, that was when they had like lots of different monsters. So
yeah, you go to a new zone and it was like, all right, what am I going to see?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, do you want to hear about the final boss? Are you ever going to play to get to the end?
No, I'll probably never get to play it all. So.
Okay, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the final boss now. So if you have any intention in playing this game, just skip ahead like 2 or 3 minutes into this podcast. The final boss named is Tyrannok. So that Gadflow guy that you're trying to get after in the entire game, he's not the final boss. Tyrannok is a big damn dragon. Like a humongous, like it's huge. Like it's one of the biggest I've ever fought in a game. And well, granted, I haven't played a lot of these dungeon siege or type games, but it's way bigger than Onyxia. Like if you remember Onyxia, when I remember playing World of Warcraft, they'd like have Onyxia's head like outside of Stormwind there.
Yeah.
I'd probably say this dragon's nose was about the size of Onyxia's entire body.
Wow.
Like it's freaking huge. There's one scene like when essentially like it used that Gadflow guy just to like let itself get released.
Right.
And there's one part where it just comes up, and Gadflow is maybe like if you hold like your fingers an inch, the head is probably like the size of a beach ball.
Wow.
It's huge. It's freaking humongous. And I'm like, wow, holy crap, how am I going to beat this thing? But I guess I got to complain, and it's not. I really shouldn't blame the game because I just don't think it's in the game's engine to do it any other way. But the way you beat the final dragon is you fate shift, and he shoots out this beam of light, and like it stuns the dragon, and the dragon's head falls on your platform there, and then you run up and you start hitting it with your sword, and it takes away its life. Now, I know they do that in The Legend of Zelda also, but the thing with this one is you just go up and start whacking away at a random place, and essentially it's not like its jaw. Yeah, right. In Legend of Zelda, like Link's, it's usually like a sensitive or focal point, like an eyeball or something like that. So it's somewhat believable. It's a soft spot that you could hit, and it's a sensitive nerve-ending area. It gives you something. It helps it out. This one, it's like you're just going up and whacking it in the chin. And here I am thinking like, well, this is basically like if like a Lego man or a Weeble came up to you and just had like a razor blade and just started like
nicking at you.
Yeah, sure, it hurt. It would bleed, but it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, now if the Lego man pulled a Zelda and went up there and stabbed you in both your eyes, all right, maybe you'd run away and like it certainly would do a lot more damage than, you know, a couple of slices on the chin. So and this is, and you know, it's not like I'm slashing at the dragon's tongue. This is its bony chin covered in dragon scales, which are supposed to be like really strong. So that was, I guess, I wish the boss fight was a little bit more, I don't know, just felt a little more fulfilling. So, because it was such a huge boss, I'm like, this is going to be so epic. And once I figured out how to beat it, figuring out the fate shift was the hardest part. I was trying to do other things, but I'm like, well, I got nothing else to try. And like, oh, this is all you do? And then it was pretty easy after that. So, but I do like this. You don't actually, like, even though you beat the game, you can still continue the game. Like people, like it's like you're the hero, and you know, and you can go up and do like other quests that you have lingering around, which I don't really have any. So that's what I finished that game up. What was that? Last weekend?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, so I really haven't played anything really since. I kind of been like unwinding and not playing anything.
You need that, yeah.
So, but next up on my radar is, well, I'm gonna finish Ocarina of Time 3D because I never did.
Oh, cool.
I'm right about to go fight Ganondorf. I was actually playing a little bit before you came over, and then it's on to The Last of Us.
Ooh.
And then after that, might be Journey. Depends when I finish The Last of Us. Well, I'll get to more of this stuff later.
Okay.
What have you been playing? What are you playing?
Well, as a matter of fact, I am playing a little game known as The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D, which my best buddy Carl got for me for my birthday.
Wow, he sounds like a swell guy.
He sure is. Yeah. I never played the original one on N64. I did, but it was on the Virtual Console 2 or 3 Christmases ago, and I played it as far as getting to Termina Field for the first time. So you just pretty much get past that kind of intro part in town.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about this game after that, and I don't know. The game always had this aura about it. I remember even when it came out, it came out after PlayStation 2 had come out here in the States, and so I kind of didn't even bother with it. And then over the years, I'm like, this is that weird Zelda, and I just never got around to playing it. And so I finally, it came out in the 3DS. I started playing it, and I really like it. It's taken some adjustment because it's unlike any Zelda game I've played.
Yeah, it's different.
It's very different. The whole premise of it is, and I don't think I need to explain it to Nintendo diehards, but there's a 3-day cycle. It's actually in not real time, but there's a time, and
you are living the same 3 days.
You live in the same 3 days, and at first I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, and then kind of reality hit me as I'm wandering around. Like this game looks really good, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm into my second day already, and not even at the temple. So so I had to kind of get myself used to like, okay, get from point A to point B, and you could worry about looking around later, and if you have things to do. So I had to kind of get myself to feel that sense of urgency, and once I did, I got kind of rolling with it, and I got through the first temple. I'm on the second one now, Snowhead Temple, but I have maybe 2/3 of the way through that one. Funny story. I've been collecting Street Pass data for the last like 3 or 4 days, and I haven't checked it because I've been like in the middle of this temple. So it was like last night or the night before, I went back to the beginning and saved my spot, and then I went back into the temple. I did a couple of things, and I had intended to go back there and save, and then flush out my Street Pass stuff. I get home tonight, and the 3DS falls out of my pocket, falls on the floor. And I hear something go like pop and skittering across the floor, and I'm like, oh, the stylus. So I turn and I look, and there's my Majora's Mask card just laying on the floor. So I'm definitely missing a part of the temple that I had completed since my save, but not the whole thing.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. But the game itself is very cool though. I like it. At first, I wasn't really big on the whole fact that I was running against time because I'm like, well, I want to look around and I like to explore.
It's counterproductive. Yeah, I don't want to interrupt. It's counterproductive, or not counterproductive. Counterintuitive is probably the better word for a Zelda game, because the Zelda games are all about doing side quests,
Right.
and you don't have time to do no side quests if your main goal is to prevent the end of the world, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But there's so many side quests.
There's
Like
so
that
many.
game is known for side quests. Like half that game is side quests.
I did a whole 3-day cycle doing side quests.
Oh, yeah.
Before I went to the Snowhead Temple. Yeah, it was a whole lot of stuff, and those are actually kind of cool, and they work well with the time. Like to get the big bomb bag, you have to save the old lady who works in the bomb shop with her son.
Yeah.
And she mentions how she got robbed like the night before or something. So, I waited there and I'm waiting, and then I see her show up, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, the guy should be showing up here soon. And then there's a little cutscene, and he shows up, so I whacked him with the sword, and I thought, well, that was cool. Like you had to actually kind of listen to people, and like this happened, and you got to go back and do it. And
I did like that it reminded me, and we were talking about this, it reminded me of Back to the Future Part 2, where Marty, they go back in the future, they get the almanac, and then they go back, and then the bad Biff goes back to the 1955 and gives Biff there an almanac, so you have to go back in time to prevent a future from happening. It's like that. You know what's going to happen in the future, and you go back and prevent it, which I wonder how that falls in on the official timeline, because there's a whole bunch of every time he goes back in time, he's starting a new timeline, which every event changes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was actually reading a little bit about Termina itself, and I'm trying to picture. Like, I don't understand. Like he's in the Lost Woods. I think at the beginning of the game, looking for Navi. I guess it's his friend. I assume it's Navi because she's not with him.
Most people say it's Navi. No.
And he's in the Lost Woods. I guess he falls down into that hole or whatever, and he ends up in this weird place. And I read somewhere somebody theorized that Termina is always meant to end, like it's always set for destruction, and it's like a place people go through temporarily, like it's like a weird terminal kind of thing between one place and another. And I thought that was an interesting theory. I don't know if there's any validity to it, but it's kind of weird. It's definitely like a side world.
Yeah.
But a lot of the similar things are in it, which I think is just because of like the artwork that they had to work with at the time. But
that was always one of my complaints with it growing up, was that they couldn't even make new models.
Right, yeah.
I had a hard time a lot of times disconnecting characters from Ocarina of Time and seeing them as their characters in Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
It's like
wait, there's Zora's here and Goron's here, and
right, or just something as simple as the Twin Rova, the two witches. Their NPCs in Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
and all this time, like, no, those are those two witches that tried to kill me last, like
right, and I was trying to help them.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like, what is this? And so I just wish that, there's a couple new models in there, like those dancing girls or something.
Yep.
But I wish there was some new models, because I always felt that it was. I used to use this term when I was younger and less tolerant and just arrogant. I'm like, this Majora's Mask is just an Ocarina of Time hack. They just took all the models and just like the engine, they just hacked together a game really quick to put it out to capitalize on the success of Ocarina,
right.
Which isn't the truth at all. They did what they had to do to work with, but they made a whole new game that's just in a different vein of game, and a lot of people really like it. A lot of people, it's actually their favorite Zelda game.
Yeah. I'm reserving judgment till I finish it, but it's definitely been gaining favor with me to the point where I now understand why people say it's their favorite. I'm understanding it. I'm like, okay, I can kind of see why. The temples, so far, I'm only in the second one, but there's 4, I believe.
It's 4 that I know of.
Yeah, 4, maybe 5 at the end. I don't know. But I think they're really good. I think they're pretty smart from what I've seen of these two. There's some clever stuff in them. I do feel more stressed in these than in any other ones because of the time. And it's like a little more pressing when you're in a temple, because, outside in the world, you're just like, oh, well, just deposit my rupees in the bank and then, go back to 3 days and do it again. And pick up where I left off. But in the temple, it's like, all right, I've been through all of this temple, and if I only have like 2 hours to go, which in the game is like what 3 minutes or something, if you do the half speed, it's like, well, like if I get to the boss, like at that point, you're probably better off just playing the Song of Time, going back and doing the whole temple again.
Yeah.
You know? So that's kind of where I'm at now with Snowhead. I'm getting near the end, I think, but I'm running out of time. Well, maybe not now. I crashed the game, but you know, I could see that timer's ticking, and I'm like, well, I really need to figure this temple out soon so I can get out of it, because I don't want to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I haven't played that game really. The only time I ever seriously played it was when it first came out.
Yeah.
Like I got that game launch day, and I played it then, and I got as far as the fourth temple, I'll call it, but I never finished that temple. I think it was the fourth one. Maybe it was the third. No, I think it was the fourth. I don't know. But that most of my memories are based off of that, which came out, what, 2000?
2000, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm talking 14 years ago. I'm basing most of my memories off of. Now, there's a couple times I did try going through it again, but I usually only made it as far as the first temple there in the swamp, is it? Or
Woodfall. It's a swamp, yeah. Great temple.
Yeah.
Great temple.
I do remember Snowhead a little bit, and I remember that temple being really, really neat.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. But that's really all I remember, and I just have bits and pieces of things. So I'm looking forward to playing through that one. And like I said, I think in another podcast somewhere that it's the only console Zelda game that I haven't beaten. Yeah. Well, technically, I haven't beaten Adventure of Link legitimately.
Same. All
right, so there's two of them, but at least like using Game Genie, I was at least able to beat the Adventure of Link. I can never get past Thunderbird. Once I got past Thunderbird,
neither.
I was fine. I can make it all the way up to Thunderbird, but can never beat him. So, but at least I saw the ending and know what the game is like. Majora's Mask, I have no idea what happens at the end.
Right, you're right.
None.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to eventually picking up Majora's Mask 3D also and going through and playing it and see what happens. But yeah, and like you said, and I'm stepping all over your talk here.
No.
I do see now, many years later, what the draw is about that game, even though it has been my least favorite of all of them. But I do see where people are coming from, why they enjoy it so much. It's actually my brother's favorite game
is it really?
Of the Zelda series. At least it was for the longest time. I don't know if it's changed since then, but that was his favorite. So,
yeah. One note specifically on the 3D version is it looks really, really good. I said the same thing about Ocarina of Time 3D, maybe not on the show, I don't know, but Ocarina of Time, to me, on the N64, doesn't really look good anymore.
No, it has not aged.
It hasn't aged well at all, and it's all muddy, and that's just the way most N64 games are all muddy. PlayStation, the original PlayStation, hasn't held up either. It's real blocky looking, and it's bad.
Jaggy.
Yeah. But on the 3DS, Ocarina of Time looked pretty good. They cleaned it up. It wasn't just like, okay, just make it sharper. Like they actually redid some things and it's made it look good. And it's brighter,
more vibrant.
Yeah, there's things that were sprites. Like I think rupees used to be sprites, and they're polygons now and stuff. And Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask gets the same treatment. And I didn't realize how striking of a difference it was until I saw a comparison video on IGN. Which did you watch that?
Yes, I did.
It looks so much better. And even before I watched that, I'm like, man, this game looks really good. I mean, it's 3DS, it's not high def or anything, but I mean, it looks really good. But compared with the graphics from the original, it's nothing like. People look completely different, and they've made some changes to it. Like, I didn't even know about this. You told me. I was like, I'm running out of time in this temple, and you said, well, did you do the song of was it Halftime or whatever?
I think, yeah.
And
I just call it the song is, or you just slow down time.
Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't know I could do that. So I didn't realize until after I got out of there. I was just wandering around town, and I found like a scarecrow or something, and I hit him with a sword, and he's like, oh, if you play the song backwards, it'll slow down time. I'm like, oh, okay. And it goes in, if you play the song in double time, it will like double tap each button.
Yep.
It'll speed up time. And I'm like, well, that might be interesting when you need to get to a point in doing these side quests. So I went to do it, and as I read about this after, on the N64, it advances you to like that night or that morning. It's a particular jump.
Right.
On this, it goes to a particular hour. So you get a slider, and you just pick whatever you want to go to.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, which really helped me with that old lady with the bomb bag, because I knew it was going to be at midnight for some reason. So that
was always annoying, just standing around waiting for something to happen.
So I went to 11 o'clock, and then I ran up the road there, and I got there just in time. And so helpful thing there. And there was a few other changes I don't know offhand. I know people said that they had made gameplay adjustments to make it a little easier, or to correct things that really shouldn't have been done in a certain way. So it's not just a graphical update; it's definitely been tweaked, in gameplay. So that's what I've been playing. I've been moving pretty well through it. So maybe by next time I'll be done, I could talk about my thoughts on it.
Cool.
Overall.
Without any spoilers though for me.
No spoilers. Yeah, not until you finish it, and we'll talk about it.
All right.
Yeah, but that's all I've been playing. I have a bunch of games kind of lined up on the PlayStation Vita, but I won't touch it until I finish Zelda.
Good move.
Yeah. But I think that's it for playing games. Unless there was anything else you were playing. So.
No. That's it for what I'm playing.
Well, I have some interesting news.
Ooh,
yeah.
What is it?
Well, Nintendo announced some upcoming releases to Wii U and 3DS, but mostly Wii U, and it kind of caught my eye because they're mostly indie games, and I thought that was kind of interesting because they haven't had a whole lot of indie support, or at least not the more well-known indie games. So I saw Octodad, Deadliest Catch for Wii U. That's coming out on the PlayStation Vita. It's been out on PlayStation 4 since it launched. It was considered a really good game. Never Alone is coming out on Wii U. Don't Starve, Giant Edition, is coming on 3DS. Affordable Space Adventures, Runbow, Box Boy. There's some other ones. They're all coming out. And I only really wanted to talk about this because on PlayStation 4 and Vita, in many ways, that's what the majority of the what a lot of people consider the best games on the platform are these indie games. Vita hasn't had a whole lot of support from third-party publishers or even Sony at this point. PlayStation 4 is selling incredibly well. I think it's the fastest-selling console they've ever had. Wow. And you try to find a big-budget game that's exclusive to the PlayStation 4 that would sell a whole bunch of these units. Like, Sony doesn't even know why the PlayStation 4 is selling so quickly. But it's buoyed by all of these indie games that are out there, because you can get them for $10-15, and they're kind of retro looking, so they probably appeal to people like you and me, but they're really good. And I've been playing a lot of them on the Vita, and that kind of keeps that system alive for me. It's actually my main game console these days. Unless I'm playing Zelda or Mario or whatever, I go to that. That's what I play. So I thought it was interesting that Nintendo's making this push now of saying, like, hey, we got indie games coming. And granted, a lot of these games have been out a year or two already, but they're coming to the Wii U now, 3DS now. And do you think it'll move the needle for them at all? Do you think it'll get people to look at their platform?
I don't think it could hurt them, really. Yeah. It's going to be a positive thing. Whether it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a huge selling point now. Like, oh my God, they have indie games. Yeah. So, but there's definitely now a new selling point. It's now like, it's just one more reason why to buy a Wii U. Yeah. It's like now you like, if you're ever torn like on the fence, like, well, I really want the Wii U, but I really like the indie games on PlayStation that is available. Well, now Wii U has them, so now you don't have that excuse why not to get a Wii U. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it as like, well, I bought my Wii U for Zelda and Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and Super Mario 3D World, and it's like, there's gaps in between these games, and it's like, what do you play? Because they don't have the third-party support anymore. Yeah. So if they can fill in those gaps with indie games, I think that's definitely you won't probably sell the console on Octodad,
but to know that it's there.
It's there, yeah.
And when you're done with Mario 3D World and you're waiting for Zelda Wii U to come out, you can spend time with some of these games, and I think that's I think I can't hurt them, like you said, and it's just another plus.
Yeah.
I say this and I'm using it to tell myself to go buy one. But I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that one.
I got denied putting a Wii U on the wedding gift registry.
Really?
Yeah. I had to buy it myself, I suppose.
I guess. Yeah. That was a good idea, though.
It's worth a shot.
I slide it in there once in a while. I'm like, hey, if we could just get a Wii U when you're at the store today, that'd be great. And she's like, no. Oh, well.
I try the whole, it'd be a lot more fun than silverware. Just think about it.
Yeah. You can sit around the TV together. Like, what can you do with silverware? You just eat. But I
feel like that DirecTV version, you can't play Zelda on silverware.
Right. Yeah, don't get silverware for your wedding.
Yeah.
Get a Wii U.
Doesn't even plug in.
Yeah. What can you even do with it? If you plug that into a light socket, you're gonna get shocked.
Yeah.
That's not good. Yeah, I have some non-Nintendo news on this Nintendo News podcast.
Okay.
Battletoads. Remember Battletoads?
Ooh, I had that. I bought it.
I have things to say about that game, but Rare has been owned by Microsoft now since 2002 or 3 or so. It's been a long time. Used to be, for anyone who's kind of more of a newer Nintendo fan, they were like the reason, aside from Zelda and Mario, to own a Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
They cracked, they just knocked it out of the park with so many games.
Yeah.
Just look at the N64 collection of like best games and look at who the developer is next to it, and most of them are going to be Rare.
Yeah. And there's that period there between, I don't want to say like 94 to like 98, 2000, where they just were hammering out all these great games. Like even probably starting right around like the Donkey Kong Country time.
They were the guys behind that. Yeah,
and then you had Killer Instinct coming out.
Yeah,
and they just started hammering, and then the N64 came out, and you had like Conkers and Donkey Kong 64 and all these other games, and just like they were unstoppable. Perfect Dark. No, that wasn't them.
It was. That was them.
Yep. 007.
007.
GoldenEye.
Yep.
They could do no wrong.
Yeah. They published all these games, but before even all of that, they published a game on the NES called Battletoads.
Yes, they did.
And since the Nintendo days, they got bought by Microsoft. They put out a couple of pretty good games, I thought, and then they kind of went into the development hell with Kinect games, which was, I don't think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Most of the people that were important in that company are now gone, but there's a push now for them to get back to doing the Rare games, the classic Rare games. And everyone was wondering, like, well, what are they going to do? Another Banjo-Kazooie game? Another Perfect Dark game? What are they going to do? Well, Phil Spencer, the guy who was the head of Xbox for Microsoft, was at a Windows 10 event back in January, and he comes out wearing a T-shirt with a Battletoads logo on it. And if that doesn't say Battletoads is coming, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. Out of all the franchises, they went with this one that probably everybody forgot was a Rare game.
Yeah. I wonder, I never looked up, but I wonder if Rare was behind the Battletoads arcade game.
I don't know.
I don't know either. It was like a similar vein, like it was a beat 'em up, but it was so much more violent than the Nintendo game.
It was.
Like, I don't know if you ever played it, but like the exaggerated moves were so freaking graphic. Like, there's one, like, if you're one of the Toads, you can knock down the rats and you can do these like finishing moves right on top of them. And one of them, your arm turns into this drill and you just like stick it into their face while it's going, and blood goes flying out all over the place. Like, there's one you like do this punch and your arm turns into like a big piece of metal, like metal sheeting with spikes on it.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
It was nuts. It was it was a good beat 'em up. You just like beat the crap out of everything. But I just remember that the first time I was watching somebody play like a YouTube video and did the move like where you knock the gave a headbutt, and then stood over and just drilled right into this rat's head. I'm like, holy crap! Like, wow. I wish that was like that on Nintendo. I would have loved it being like 10 years old or however old I was.
Very different on the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be coming. Whatever they make is coming to Xbox One. I don't know what that game is going to be.
Yeah.
The traditional beat 'em up's been dead for a long time.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know if there's any point in speculating. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Should make a fighting game like Street Fighter.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because
they have enough characters in the universe.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
They would never do this, but if they did that, like it'd be so great if there was like a hidden character like Silas Folkmere. I don't know if you remember him from the. Do you remember the Battletoads comics from Nintendo Power?
Yeah, I remember
that guy with like the long black hair and the really thin mustache and beard.
I'm remembering it, but it could be a false memory of you telling me about it.
I don't know if he was made up just for that comic or what, because there was a level called Volkmir's Inferno. And I always wondered where that name came from. And then he was mentioned in the comic as his name. Now they could have, and whoever made the comic just could have saw Volkmir's Inferno in the game and just added that. No idea, but it'd just be funny to add that character in, because if he was a made up character, I just think it'd be funny. Even if he like sucked as a character and just get the crap out of him.
Get the crap out of him. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And I doubt they could, but they might be able to release, the original one as like a Xbox downloadable or something.
Game's hard.
Interesting. Yeah, actually, I don't like that game. I liked it when we were kids.
Yeah.
And it was it was cool and everything, and
but we liked a lot of games when we were kids that are not good games.
And Battletoads is one of those games where I think when I was in college, I always used to keep a floppy disk around. Floppy disk. I used to keep a floppy disk around in my backpack, and then when I was in the lab in college and I had some time to kill before class, I'd put it in, and I kept like an emulator or two on there, and I'd play Nintendo or Super Nintendo. And one of the games I had on there was Battletoads, and I remember sitting there playing it, and I'm like, this is not a good game. What happened? It's not a good game. It was very flawed in a lot of ways. And it was one of those, it was the first time I think I was like, maybe you shouldn't go back and play all of the old games you loved, because they may not be what you remember them. So that was kind of turned me off from it. But I don't have an Xbox One, but I'm curious to see what this would be. Like, I don't hate the Battletoads brand. I think it was cool. And I think there's something there. It's just that game for me didn't stand up to the test of time gameplay wise, so I don't like it now. But if they came out with something new, I'd be curious to see what it is. And if I had an Xbox, I'd probably want to play it.
If you never played the original Battletoads for Nintendo, if you want a true to life experience of what it's actually like, I highly recommend watching the Battletoads video episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd on Cinemassacre.com. He plays it with his one friend Kyle Justin, and it's so true, because it's a beat 'em game where you could hurt your player too, like your friend.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's so many areas where you're just confined in such a small space where you can't attack properly without really risking hitting your teammate. And the game is just the game is already hard, and being able to hit your teammate makes it that much more difficult. And if your teammate runs out of lives, the whole game stops, and you have the option of continuing. And then if your teammate continues, you start back at the beginning, and you don't get your lives replenished. So you're just gonna die next, really quick, and then you can go back to the beginning. It was not well thought out, and I think I might have mentioned this in a previous podcast, but one of the best known bugs in that game is the fact that in one of the later levels, I think like level 11 or 12 out of like 14, you have to ride this hand bike, and player 2's never moves. Ooh. So apparently they never beta tested. It's so hard they couldn't beta test that far into the game. So let's see if player 2 couldn't even move on their motorbike. So if you make it that far with two players, you have to let your guy die.
Man.
Let the continue run out. Let player 1 finish that level, and then join back in the next level.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge bug. Like, how can
Yeah.
you possibly leave that in there? And the only way you leave that in there is the fact that,
No one ever makes it there.
yes, you're just banking on the fact that nobody will ever have the patience to get there to 2 players.
Wow.
So, yeah. But, I don't know, the furthest I ever made it was the second to last level, I think, by myself. Legit, without Jamie Genie. I was never able to make it to the last level, and therefore I never beat it legit. But, god damn, making it that far is an accomplishment.
Yeah, I would
think.
say so.
Better
Yeah.
than my cap, because that game was freaking difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, more than it needed to
and
be.
I want to say I made it that far without using warp zones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only cheat I might have used is if you hold up and a button when you push start, you get 2 additional lives. So I used that. So I had 3 lives instead of 5 each time, and so I made it through all those without using warp zones. And that was when I was in my prime, and that's as far as I can make it. The game is freaking tough.
Yeah. So hopefully, if it comes out on Xbox One, a new one, it will not be that tough.
Yeah.
I added this one today. I don't know if you saw it. Netflix on the NES.
Well, I saw that, and I had to do a double take. I'm like,
Yeah.
NES? 8-bit NES? Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Netflix sponsors something called Hack Day every year. And this year, a couple of guys put together, I guess it must be a special cartridge. I didn't quite understand how it all worked, but it's a special cartridge that plays Netflix using the NES like processor and everything. So I watched a video of it, and there's like an 8-bit kind of select screen where you pick the video you want to watch, and they picked House of Cards. There's a little, you have Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little description of every video of what it is. So like you arrow over to something, and then it'll show like the box art, and then there'll be text that'll run across the screen of what it is, and it looks like a game from an 8-bit game. But then they picked House of Cards, and it started to play the video, and it was like not even 8-bit. I think it was 4-bit. It was like just a couple of colors, and it was the video. It didn't look good at all. It was really small too, and it looked horrible. But it was they actually made it work.
Wow.
I think there was some trickery with the demo that it was a cached video, but I think it's something that would actually function. No one would ever use it, but it would function. So,
Just the fact that you did that is pretty impressive.
yeah, I think that's the new thing. It always used to be, oh, but can it run Doom?
Could it run Doom? Yeah.
Right, yeah. Hey, this new thing came out. Well, can it run Doom? And now it seems to be, can it run Netflix? Because I even saw something about a Samsung printer, and they're like, well, someone's got to make an app for Netflix. So it seems to be it. So, the NES, still out there. People are hacking away at it, and if you really want to, you can watch Netflix on it.
I hope people still make Doom for things, though.
Yeah,
I'd
me
rather
too.
that be the standard.
For forever. Yeah. I just got this new toaster oven with a digital display. Oh, can it run Doom?
Can it run Doom?
As a matter of fact, yeah. That'd be great.
Hey guys, I found my Game & Watch from the 80s. Can it run Doom?
Right, yeah.
Really, I'm not sure. It's only got a couple of positions of LCDs.
We'll make it work.
Make it work.
Yeah. So that was a quick little fun thing I saw. So, a little Netflix on the NES.
That's cool. That's cool. Nice find.
Yeah. But I came up with a new segment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I didn't come up with mine. Go for it.
That's okay. That's all right. So I was listening to, I've mentioned this show before, Nintendo Voice Chat. It's IGN's Nintendo podcast. And they did a live show recently. And they had people come up and do like a Q&A sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And somebody asked one particular question. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to ask Carl that. And I thought, well, maybe we can make a segment out of this. And just, here's the concept. Basically, each of us will ask the other one a question that we're not prepared for. So like, it's not in the notes. We're not going to say like, hey, I'm going to ask you this. We're going to totally blindside each other with a question on the spot. And I have one.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, and the question could be anything as long as it's related to Nintendo in some way. So it doesn't have to be particularly about you playing a Nintendo. It could be something about the world of Nintendo, a game inside, being in a Nintendo game, anything, as long as Nintendo's
okay
part of it. So
right.
My question to you, and this is such an obvious question, but you probably never truly thought about it. you play a lot of video games. You mentioned you're just playing Kingdoms of Amalur, and you've played a lot of PC games, and you have a PlayStation 3 and a 2. And why Nintendo? Like, why are we here doing this show?
Why Nintendo?
Yeah, like, why is it out of all of the games, why is it Nintendo was the most special to you?
Well, probably because it was the first system that I really saw that was really impressive, and I really started playing. I mean, the Atari 2600 was the first system I had, but it was so simplistic with its graphics. But when I saw Nintendo, what Nintendo could do was, it was night and day difference. Like going from the 2-bit of Atari to the 8-bit of Nintendo was, big jump. And it's like, wow, this is so great. I can't believe this the type of games that this system could put out. And it just, and another thing that separated it from Atari, I just think was and probably in television also, and ColecoVision and everything else, was some of the quality of some of the games. Not that those other systems had all bad games, but you weren't going to find a Legend of Zelda on the Atari 2600 or on the ColecoVision. So it just the Nintendo Entertainment System just had it just delivered everything. And maybe it's just because I was young and impressionable, everything was new. Because like we were saying, there's a lot of games that we loved as kids that really aren't good games, but they were just what they were able to do to make it seem like a good game at the time.
Yeah.
Whether it was really neat graphics or a really neat concept, or just being able to do something that the market was young. Nintendo was the lead dog. And it created standards for excellence, and it's pretty much just held that standard. It's had a couple of stumbling blocks here and there. So it's but Nintendo delivered. The Super Nintendo very much delivered. The Nintendo 64 to me delivered. GameCube delivered to you.
Yeah.
The Wii, I think it delivered, and the Wii U seems to be coming around. So it hasn't really steered me wrong. I don't know. It just but yeah, I guess maybe it was the first real system that was a real system where people really knew what they were doing. And I guess that's probably it. I don't know how else to put it.
No, that's good. No. But what about like Nintendo in general? Like as the
company?
I don't know about company, but like all of it. Like just we're here doing this isn't PlayStation kids. It's Nintendo kids. You know what I mean?
I guess.
I think you kind of answered it, but maybe I just want to make sure. It's been the quality and consistency of the product?
I guess maybe because it was the system that we played as kids. I didn't have a Sega, Genesis. I didn't have a PlayStation 1. I was really... Why? Because I was only allowed to have one video game system per generation. That's all my parents would get from me. Which
is actually true. Me too.
Yeah, which was the right thing to do. I don't think I'm that spoiled. So and I could thank them for not giving me everything that my heart desired. But so I chose the Nintendo because it had games on it that I knew I liked and I could play. Because you had a Nintendo and I played them at your house. And like, oh, I like this game. I like all these games. There's all these games I know I like on this system. That's the system I want. And from there, it just seemed like, I guess, Nintendo just kept putting out games that I continually liked, and I came to trust them to put out games that I liked. So I guess as a childhood, they gained my trust and my respect, and that's why Nintendo, I guess, because they haven't let me down since I was a kid. They welcomed me in, they sucked me in, and they haven't really done anything to push me out.
Very good. Well said.
Does that answer how you wanted? Or
that does.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I will also answer my own question.
All right, go for it. While I try and think of a question for you.
In one way, yes. It's actually, I have two answers. One is, the quality, because over the years, their quality games, I've always been able to tell, like, when a Mario game comes out, it's going to be good. When a Zelda game comes out, it's going to be good. I always know these things. So that's one reason. The other reason, though, is Zelda.
Really?
Yeah, because The Nintendo, I actually got for Mario, but I played a lot of Zelda on it. But when the Super Nintendo came out, I got it for Mario. Played a lot of Zelda on that one. When the N64 came out, I was into PC gaming at that point, and I'd pretty much stepped away from the consoles, so I avoided it for a while. Not like, oh, Nintendo sucks. It was just like, okay, I'm over here now, and you're doing your thing over here, Nintendo, but I'm over here now. And then Ocarina of Time came out, and I'm like, yeah, I need that game. So I got a job, and I saved up my money, and I bought an N64, and I got Ocarina of Time. And then the GameCube came out, and I was like, well, I got the PlayStation 2, and I don't know that I want to have, what I had last time with the PlayStation and with the N64. I'm like, it's two different ones. There was a lot to balance. I'm like, I don't know if I want to have multiple consoles. So I didn't look at the GameCube, and I was actually selling them at that point. I was working at Toys R Us. Mm-hmm. And then the Wind Waker came out, and I think I actually wasn't working there anymore, so I wasn't in the game stuff. And our friend Ryan, who we've mentioned, I think probably on the show before,
several times, yeah,
he was IMing me on AOL Instant Messenger one night, and he's like, man, he goes, I just started playing Wind Waker, and I'm like, really? I'm like, what do you think of it? And he's telling me about this game, and I'm like, damn it, I gotta go get this now. So I went out and I bought a GameCube, and then when the Wii came out, I got that for Wii Sports, I guess, but Twilight Princess came out day one, and I got that, and that's the game I played most of it. And the 3DS came out, and I pretty much avoided it because I'm just like, I still love my DS, and then I'm like, I'm not ready to upgrade. And then I got the Vita, and I was playing that, and then Link Between Worlds came out, and I'm like, I gotta get this thing, so I bought it. And now we're looking at the Wii U, and Zelda Wii U is coming out, or whatever they're gonna call it, and I'm like, all right, well, I think I gotta get one of these. So I think for me, Zelda is a big reason too.
Okay.
So Zelda is my reason.
Neat.
Yeah, I keep coming back because of Zelda.
It's a good reason to come back, and Zelda's gonna be the reason I get a Wii U.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. It's the main reason. I mean, I've been wanting a Wii U, but Zelda Wii U is gonna be the thing that says, okay,
yeah,
now I'm really getting one, because Mario Kart 8 came out, and I'm like, oh, I really want to play that. I'd really like to get a Wii U for that. And it's like I was really kicking around the idea of getting it and playing it, but I'm kind of eventually like, well,
yeah,
there's gonna be no when Zelda Wii U comes out. It's like, I'm getting it whether anybody likes it or
need
not.
it. Yeah, this is gonna happen.
This is happening, so everybody just better accept it. It was funny. Amy, she was telling me, like, when I first started playing Kingdoms of Amalur, she's like, I never saw you so addicted by a game before. And I'm like, you haven't been around for a Zelda launch.
Zelda launch, yeah.
She's like, what was that like? I'm like, I take a week off from work, and I just play it all day and all night. She's like, I'm not going to see you for a week. I'm like, well, if you come up to the room, you can see me.
Yeah, so you can hang out and watch.
That's really like, I mean, it's these Zelda launch for the main consoles are big events for me. Like I plan for them. I always make sure I take at least a week off so I can play it. Like 7 straight days, I want to be able to play it. When Twilight Princess came out, I timed it so I actually got 10 days off because it came out right around Thanksgiving break.
It came out on a Saturday or Sunday, I think, and then that coming week was Thanksgiving week. Yeah, because I got it Black Friday, so it was
So I took off those 3 days, that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Right.
Then we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then took off the next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
you played for quite a while. Yeah.
So
with a little bit of Excite Truck in between.
With a little, yes. Yeah. And actually, well, it's a good thing I took off that much time, because this might be a story for another time. Yeah, I'll say that, when it was about the Wii launch and everything. So I'll talk about that another time. But Ocarina of Time, and again, that came around on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
I didn't really work too much back then. Plus, I was going to school, college, so I didn't have to take off from work. But it came out, oddly, I want to say it came out like that Wednesday right before Thanksgiving.
I think it did.
I could have sworn. I could almost swear. I will swear on something really expensive in this PA system here next to me that we're using because I don't want to bet my life on something I'm not 100% sure of. But I really remember going to class, leaving public speaking class, driving right to the mall to pick up my pre-ordered copy. So I want to say it was launched on a Wednesday, and I just played it the rest of that Thanksgiving break. A lot. That first day, I was on like 14 and a half hours. Like straight, yeah. I got it around like noon and played it till, or 11, no, maybe around 11 or something. And I played it till like 2 in the morning.
Wow.
Went to bed for 4 hours. I couldn't sleep. I got up at 6 and started playing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was a special game.
Mm-hmm.
I missed it in that launch window, and I wish that I had played it then. Well, maybe I don't, but everybody around me was playing it, and I was hearing different things. Like, you didn't really tell me a whole lot because I think you were really engrossed in it. And
yeah.
And you were in college at that point. I was still in high school, so I was hearing it like on the bus, and I was hearing it like study hall, and everybody's talking about it. And it was like, did you get to the temple yet? To this temple, to that temple? Did you see this? Oh, I can't believe the size of the field. And it's like, I made it to Gerudo Valley, and I'm like, this sounds so good, so good. You know?
Yeah, I bet you if I was still in high school and I'm riding like on the bus or whatever,
yeah,
then you probably would have heard a lot more from me about
it. Sure, yeah.
I was a freshman in college, and you would have been what, a junior?
Yeah, I think I was a junior. Yeah. So that was a time that I didn't get to share with a lot of people, and then by the time I got to it that following summer, like it was old hat. You know?
Yeah, because I remember talking to Ryan about it.
Yeah,
he had it, and we would be trading stories over AOL Instant Messenger, and like I think I mentioned in another podcast with the when Kakariko Village was on fire. That scene, and Ryan, he's called it it's like, did you get this one thing? It's the Titanic of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Titanic, the movie, the James Cameron movie, because that was all that was. 1998 was all about that movie.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio. So yeah, cool. Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
Good choice.
yeah.
Good choice.
I mean, I'm not as dedicated to the series as you are. I mean, you have a lot of the lore and stuff, but that game keeps bringing me like to their consoles repeatedly. So yeah,
cool.
It took some reflection. I had the opportunity to think about my answer.
Well, here will be my random question. What's the segment called?
On the spot.
On the spot. Here, I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right.
With the question that I just came up with on the spot.
All right.
What, going from the happy stuff, what is the worst thing you ever bought that had Nintendo's logo on it? This could be a game, a board game, a toy, an accessory like a power pad or something like that. So, and I know there's a lot of stuff to go through, so
yeah,
I won't hold it to you if you think of something later on, like, oh, you know what, this was actually the worst thing.
Yeah, it's the worst thing with Nintendo's.
Dumbest, lamest, whatever you wanna, whatever you most regret ever, or think I wouldn't use this if somebody paid me.
Right. No, I'm trying to think on the as far as like
could be a game,
hardware and games go. I would say I'm gonna have to think about it for me. I could talk my way through it.
Yeah, I could. If you put me on the spot, ask me what's the worst game I ever played on Nintendo, I couldn't come up with anything right now.
I probably
played a lot of bad.
I could probably come up with something. It would have Nintendo's name on it only in that it had the Nintendo seal of quality, but not that it was published by them. That would be Ghostbusters.
Ooh,
that was a bad game. I'm glad. I'm glad whoever bought it for me because at the time I enjoyed it because I liked Ghostbusters, but I never really got to enjoy the game because it was so friggin' hard.
Oh.
It was, and
that's another one. It's like, did they beta test this?
Yeah, you wonder because
were they able to make it up like 22 flights of stairs by tapping the A button for every step you want to take?
It's hard and it just takes forever.
You get touched 3 times.
Yeah,
it's game over. Not even like a continue.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty bad. So that has their name on it in that seal, I guess. But as far as like hardware goes, I was kind of trying to think of something like that. The only bad hardware I ever bought were controllers that were like replacements for the real ones, or where it had like the turbo button, and none of those were Nintendo licensed. They were all, knockoff kind of things. So None of those would count. But game wise, Ghostbusters is pretty bad. Trying to think of like a Nintendo published game, which wouldn't be a horrible game.
Yeah, they
But,
put
like,
out good stuff. So
Yeah. I mentioned it on the show once or twice. I kind of have a fondness for it, but I'll be honest, it wasn't a good game. I didn't really like it. Jet Force Gemini on the N64. Not really one of Rare's best. Rare again. But they had a string of awesome games on the N64. They also had a couple of not so awesome games, and that one really wasn't so great. But I don't know that I regret it. I don't regret buying it. But it's probably one of the worst Nintendo games I ever bought.
I have no prepared answer for this either. I'm trying to think myself. Hardware wise, I remember buying and this is just me. Some people may really love this, but I remember buying the NES Advantage.
Yeah.
It would be the coolest thing in the world. It was like playing the arcade, has an arcade stick, and
Yeah.
turbo buttons. The thing was so awkward, and it just made playing games so much more difficult.
Right.
Because you're just not as dexterous with your whole hand as you are with your thumb. And games are made, when you're so used to playing a game with your thumb, like Double Dragon or something
Yeah.
like that, and I'm trying to control it with my hand, making my guy move around and punch. It just was so. It was an NES disadvantage. Like it really just
Yeah.
it just made the games that much harder. The only benefit you had was the turbo button, which was an adjustable turbo. It had like a knob to go like slow
remember
turbo
that,
and like
yeah.
fast turbo. So that was like really only neat feature it had.
It would help you in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah.
The only thing that helped in Ghostbusters was Game Genie being immune to those ghosts.
Yeah,
That's
going up the
only way-
steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh,
I got it. I know the worst thing that had Nintendo's name on it that I bought, and it's because of its lack of support. The Super Scope 6.
oh, ooh.
Yeah, and I didn't actually buy this, but it was a gift. But I wanted it, and at the same time, Spear of Destiny, the Wolfenstein
Yes.
sequel,
Yep,
had come
yep,
out,
yep, yep.
and my dad gave me a choice. It was like an Easter present. My dad's like, "Well, you can get Spear of Destiny, or you can get the Super Scope thing." And he thought for sure I was going to go with Spear of Destiny because I was such a big Wolfenstein fan, and I went with the Super Scope. And
What? Really?
yeah, I think he was kind of shocked, and that's what I got. And
That was the wrong choice.
yeah, it was fun and stuff, but it had no support other than I think there was one or two other games other than that the
There was
game
a
that
Yoshi game, like Yoshi's Cookie or something. Was that?
Yeah, maybe.
There's some Yoshi shooting game. It wasn't the Cookie
I think there
one,
might
but
have been. The only one I had was the actual pack-in Super Scope 6 game, and it had like
Yeah.
6 mini games, and that's the only one I had. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but like I had this big, bazooka that I only got to play a couple mini games with, so
Yeah.
that was probably the worst one.
You know, what's
That
weird
was-
is like the best mini game that I considered was Blockus, which was
Yeah.
it was like almost like a Tetris game, but you had to shoot the things to turn.
to turn the
And it's like this game could be so much better if you just play with the controller.
yeah I know yeah
There's essentially like a whack-a-mole, and like wait a minute, this is whack-a-mole.
right
Yeah. They were mini games. Yeah, that's all it was. So,
yeah so
yeah,
that
that was not good.
that was my worst one. Yeah, I purposely did not choose the Virtual Boy because I did have that. I still have that.
You do?
I think it's in my parents' house. I think
Wow,
I still have
where?
it in the basement. I'll have to see if it's still down there. It's possible I don't because that basement did get flooded, but it may not have been down there at the time. I'll have to look.
I sell that on eBay. That's a
Yeah,
lot of money.
I'll have to look. I that is maybe a runner-up, but especially today when like virtual reality stuff is starting to make a comeback,
Yeah.
their Oculus and Project Morpheus that Sony has, I think back to that and I'm like they were trying this stuff. Like Nintendo was doing this stuff and it's nowhere near where it is today. I mean,
Yeah.
what they're doing today, from what I understand, is mind-blowing. But I remember that, and I remember just like I'm playing Mario Tennis and was Mario or Wario Tennis? I don't know. I was playing that
think it
tennis
was Mario
game. I think it was
Tennis.
Mario. It came with it, and like the ball was coming at the screen, and I'm like, this is cool. Like this is so cool. And it never went anywhere. It failed. It was a big flop, but I'm gonna put the Super Scope above it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I don't even know if this was officially Nintendo without looking it up, but one of the worst games I played, and it really wasn't a bad game. It was just boring, I guess, for me because I was a teenager. But did you ever play Mario Was Missing?
No, but I remember it.
It's an educational game,
Yeah.
but it was, it's lame.
Yeah.
It's an educational game. You're Luigi. You have to go to different areas and try and return things like King Kong to the Empire State Building, But I don't know. It's been so long since I played it. But yeah, trying to return various things that locations are famous for back to the location they're famous for. So you have to get like something in Australia, something in London, like return Big Ben to London. Even though I think they pick them up, they're like in little pouches, and it's like, I don't know, Big Ben fits and King Kong fit in a pouch,
right.
but it was really lame. It was just a lame game. It was not a video game. Well, it was a video game, but it wasn't. It was an educational game. So I don't know what I was expecting, but
was that on the Super Nintendo?
And Nintendo. It was on
Really?
both, yeah.
Oh.
But I played the Super Nintendo one, and again, it was easy for me because I was 14 or whatever when I played. It was mostly for my brother. I think we rented it one time from like a video store, and he was like 4 or 5, and it was just it stunk. I didn't like it. I mean, I played my share of bad games, but I think that one's official Nintendo. Because I was gonna say like the Little Mermaid on the NES.
Yeah.
He's gonna hate me for saying this. My brother rented that one too from a. I know, but in his defense, he was a little kid, and Little Mermaid was a cartoon for children. So,
True.
But it wasn't a very good game. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. It's all these Ninja Crusaders as well.
Did you own that?
I did not own that. I borrowed that. My grandfather used to rent out video games at his grocery store. And he just let me keep that one as long as I wanted. That game stunk.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That was one of those games though, where like I remember it as being too hard to actually be any good, but there was good memories of it.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked it, but I would never play it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's off the cuff what my answers would be.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, we skipped it last time, but I'm going to go through some Twilight Pricess Rank Ems.
Yeah.
If it's time.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and do this quick because we still have to get back to our top 20.
Yeah.
We're already over the hour mark here, so.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I know.
Supersized.
So, yeah, this is going to be another long podcast, so grab a sandwich. So I'm going to try and make this kind of quick. I was thinking at work today when I was looking at these, I'm like, I should have did a different topic, but I'm going to go with this one. And it's this time it's going to be locations. So, and this one was actually kind of tough to do because sometimes it's kind of hard separating the location from the temple and the theme music because there's a lot that goes into a location.
Lake Hylia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, would Lake Hylia be as cool without its music?
Right. No.
No.
It wouldn't be. For me, it would not be. No.
So, but I do want to say, I think the designers of this game, I think they nailed all the ecosystems in this game. Slam dunk, home run, like all really had all the accents that you experience in these ecosystems. So kudos for that. So starting out, bottom of the list here, Hyrule Field. It was, for its time, a big area to explore. You know, I really enjoyed. I really enjoy exploring big areas, which is why I had such a good time with Kingdom of Amalur. And so, I like there's variations in the terrain. One part's an open field, another one's kind of hilly.
Yeah.
There's another one's kind of rocky. So it's just like fun to gallivant around in there. So I like Hyrule Field. Next up, Death Mountain area. I like this iteration of Death Mountain a lot. I like the Death Mountain Trail in this game much better than the one in Ocarina and in Skyward Sword. I like the obstacles, I like the steam vents and everything. They really didn't hurt you, but you had to figure out a way around them. It was just like a really neat area. I liked there was an active volcano that really felt like an active volcano all the time. So, and just like the way it looked really neat. Orden Village. Next is it's a great starter area.
Yeah, it is really a good area.
Yeah. It feels to me like a real village. You know, I like the sense of community, and I really like how Link is already a respected and established member of the village, which I think might have to do with him starting as a young adult and thus treated more adult-like instead of starting as a kid, where NPCs, you know, pick on you and poke fun or don't take it seriously. But it's a nice little, quaint little village, and you feel like a member of it. They do a good job in the beginning there, making you feel like a member of that village. Next, the Zora River / Zora's Domain. I really like the throne room with the really deep pool there.
Yeah.
That's a really nice touch.
Yeah.
I really like that. I love the giant waterfall, and you can jump off that. It's also a really nice looking waterfall. I like the really deep riverbed right below the falls there. You can walk around there when you get those the iron boots. As the source of all of Hyrule's water, it felt like that throne felt like a really good source area.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying. I do wish they kind of gave a little bit of backstory to those mother-daughter rocks that they mention. You know, they say, oh, go catch the reek fish over by the mother-daughter rocks, which I'm guessing they just named that so you could distinguish it from the other rocks around there.
Yeah, maybe.
But it would have been cool to have a little bit of backstory to that. So, oh well. Hyrule Castletown / sewers. Castletown really gives a good sense of like a busy trade area in that main hub. You know, there's always people walking around, bustling and talking and everything. But some of the less traveled side streets are quiet, which I think is really neat too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a nice dynamic there. It really feels like a living, breathing city to me. It also properly displays its regalness with the elaborate decor, like that fountain in the center, for example. The sewers are pretty cool too. They managed to make basically a mini temple out of them without them actually being a temple.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's puzzles there to figure out to get through them. Plus, it could be easy to get turned around in them, which is probably like how real sewers are. I wouldn't know though. You know,
never went into the sewers.
No. And I am not a pizza loving turtle. So, next is and I still pronounce it this way. I say Gerudo, and I think it's Gerudo.
I think it's
Gerudo. So I still say Gerudo because I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Well, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Gerudo, whatever. The desert there. My opinion, best Zelda desert so far.
Yeah, that desert's cool.
Yeah. I like that it's not just flat sands. There's crevices and falls. There's rocks. There's structures. There's Bulbin camp, sort of. You know, I like you get that mirage like haze from the heat. That's really, really neat. You know, that's the best example of the designers, you know, hitting out of the park with creating an ecosystem. You know, I almost feel like designers went to some desert themselves and just looked around and replicated what they saw. Like, that's how realistic it seemed to me. I also liked the lamolas. Look like those graboids from Tremors.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So that was a really neat little touch. Faron Woods. I love woodsy areas in games, probably because I think I spent most of my childhood exploring woods around my house. I mean, I was surrounded on 3 sides. You know, technically 4 if you want to count those little bit of trees between my front yard and the cemetery. But yeah, so I don't know. It just felt really natural for me to be in there. It just brought me back to exploring the woods around my house. So I really like it. I think the music kind of has a little bit of an influence because it's kind of a tranquil type music. So Lake Hylia / the Great Bridge of Hylia. I love how huge the lake is and how deep it is. Like, it's amazing how vast and deep it is. I mean, I used to think Lake Hylia in Ocarina was deep, you know, but you know, you go in that and the one in Twilight Princess and just you put those boots on, you feel like you're sinking forever.
Yeah.
You know, it's so great. So, and the bridge spanning it, you know, it gives like a really majestic feel. It's kind of awe-inspiring. I really like it. If you're there on the sea level or water level and you look up and there's that big bridge overhead, it's really, really neat. The Lost Woods / Sacred Groves / Temple of Time Ruins. This is an awesome iteration of the Lost Woods, I think.
Yeah.
I like that. Unlike Ocarina of Time and the original Legend of Zelda, it doesn't look like the same area over and over again. Yet it's still easy to get turned around and end up running down the wrong path when trying to chase that Skull Kid. And the Temple of Time Ruins are just like so freaking like amazing.
Yeah.
It's like like it just I get goosebumps thinking about it. But you go in those ruins and you're like, wow, this was the Temple of Time. Like it's all destroyed and everything now. And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of the history buff in me, but I like ancient ruins and seeing ancient ruins and old castles and everything. So to see like somewhat collapsed Temple of Time that's overgrown with vegetation, it's really, really neat. You say something?
Yeah, I was, but I'll let you finish and then
I was going to go on to the next one, so if you want to...
Do you know, like, is there a reason why the Temple of Time is where it is, or the ruins of it is where it is, compared to, like, where it was in Ocarina of Time? Because, like, Castletown is, like, right next to it in Ocarina of Time, but, like, in this one, it's, like, in the woods.
It's weird. I don't exactly know why, and I don't think anybody else does. There's several hypotheses floating out there because this isn't the first time it's moved.
No,
because it moved from Skyward Sword to Ocarina. Also, it started out in when it was first. If we're to assume that the Temple of Time in Skyward Sword is the same Temple of Time, or a first iteration of Temple of Time, started out in in the desert.
So
out there in Western Hyrule.
So it like moves.
Yeah.
Or it's been built a couple times or something.
Yeah. It's like that palace in Crawl.
Oh yeah.
It vanishes and reappears somewhere else.
I was just thinking of that movie the other day.
No, new item in Zelda Wii U, the glaive.
The glaive. Like, wow.
Wow. Yes.
The master glaive.
But yeah, I don't really know why it moves the way it moves, or why.
I was curious if you knew.
I'm guessing just they had to rebuild it. Got destroyed during wars or something. They probably had to move the Master Sword. I don't know.
Part of me kind of hopes that if you ever ask, like, Aonuma or something, he'd be like, honestly, we just thought it'd be cool. It was in the woods.
It seemed a lot better to be in the woods.
Yeah.
After we finished Ocarina, we were like, why would the Master Sword be right in the middle of the town?
Yeah.
So we thought it'd be a lot cooler out in the abandoned woods somewhere.
So just accept it.
Yeah. This next area might be a little bit of a cheat. I don't even know if it's technically considered an area, but any area engulfed in Twilight. And if that's a cheat, I'm going to say the Twilight Realm, because I just think the effect of areas engulfed in Twilight is neat.
Yeah.
The yellow haze, the weird sound, everything having a reverb or enclosed echoes, room reverb sound effect, and those weird black squares that twist and flow through the air.
Yeah. Basically, squares in general, or like sharp angles.
Yeah.
Of like patterns, because it's so not
natural.
And most of Zelda and all of its artwork and stuff is more natural or medieval. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like medieval. When I see square in cut off shapes and stuff like that, I think more like modern time stuff.
Yes. Anything that's specifically geometric.
Yeah.
Like perfect arcs, like half circle or something like that. It's a perfect 180 degrees. It's like, that's not natural.
Yeah.
It's very rare. There's my favorite novel is Watership Down, and there's a quote in there where one of the rabbits says, I don't like straight lines. Men made them.
Men made them, yeah.
And he's right. If it's a straight line, it's probably going to be man-made. So strange, perfect squares, 90-degree squares, equal, perfect parallelogram, just floating slightly upward in the air while spinning around. It's just a really, really weird effect.
It's just not. It's like offending
It's
that it's there.
It's so
Yeah.
unnatural. There's so many things unnatural about it. It's first of all something floating
Yeah.
and spinning. It's a square, and it's black and not giving off any light or any reflection or any shadow. It's like it's so wrong.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like it makes you think you're dead or something, like in some totally different plane of existence, because they do not belong there. So I just really like areas engulfed in Twilight, because it really makes you feel you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're not in Hyrule anymore, even though you are.
Yeah.
And last, if this is any sort of surprise, Snow Peak.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I love Snow Peak, and I actually didn't get a chance to write any notes on it, so this is off the top of my head. But again, another nailed ecosystem. It's hard for me to separate the area from the music, because the music adds so much. But the howling winds, the snow that's constantly going, everything's white. There's ice. It's desolate. You're alone. Low visibility, like to see ahead of you. You're just there alone on this mountain. It just has such a cold, lonely, gray, dull, colorless atmosphere, and it's just so, it really makes me feel like cold inside, and just like, it's like I get the shivers thinking about it. And just, if an area could do that to me in a game, it's a good area. So Snow Peak is my favorite location in the game. Snow Peak theme music is my favorite music in the game, and Snow Peak Ruins, I can't remember if I said it's my favorite temple. I think it is.
You did say it was your favorite, yeah.
Snow Peak, it's my favorite in that game. If it's Snow Peak, it's okay in my book. And that's my rank 'em for this podcast. Again, sorry it was a little bit off the cuff. I didn't get a chance to make too many notes, and I did want to make it quick. And I probably could have made it quicker, but
yeah, it's okay. I distracted you with the what's the deal with Temple of Time's location?
No, that's all right. It's good. The sides are good. So I guess with that, we could probably move on to our main topic.
Yeah, what is it?
It's our top 20 list continuation.
All right.
The numbers 10 through 6.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
This one's exciting.
So once again, if you haven't listened to our previous couple podcasts to see where we are, I suggest going back and listening to what we have to say about these our numbers 20 through 11.
Mm-hmm.
If you are the impatient type and just want to hear those, I'm going to read off my numbers 20 through 11 right now. And again, another disclaimer that this list is liquid and subject to change.
Yeah.
Because we're already having I remember the first one, I was having second thoughts about where I ordered the games, like as soon as I started talking. So this I may not feel the same way about this order in a year from now. But anyway, here was my 20 through 11. Number 20 was Super Mario Galaxy. Number 19 was Skyward Sword. Number 18 was Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Number 17 was Super Mario Brothers. Number 16 is River City Ransom. Number 15 was Super Mario Kart. Number 14 was GoldenEye 007. Number 3 was Super Mario Kart 64. Number 12 was Star Fox 64. And number 11 was Mega Man 3.
Yeah, and mine was the number 20 spot, Super Mario Brothers. 19, Tetris. 18, Mario Paint. 17 was WWF Royal Rumble. 16. Super Mario Sunshine. Super Mario Kart. Dragon Warrior. Super Castlevania 4. Saturday Night Slam Masters, and F-Zero.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. You want to go first?
Sure.
Right.
What was your number 11?
My number 11 was Mega Man 3.
That's my number 10.
Ah.
It was really funny when you said that last episode. I'm like, holy crap. Because we matched up on
Mario Kart,
right? So I thought that would have been funny if we bookended.
Yeah.
That would have been funny. Now, Mega Man 3 for kind of a lot of the same reasons that you said. But that was the first one I owned. And actually the only one on the NES that I owned. Well, I did play the other ones. I like the robots in that one. I felt like they kind of like peaked Mega Man 3.
Yes.
They were kind of like, after that, got a little odd.
Toad Man.
Love the music. I have a story about the Robot Masters, actually. The music was great. I thought the levels were great. I liked how you went, after you defeated the 8 Robot Masters, you went back and you fought a version of the ones from Mega Man 2.
Yep. It was like having Mega Man 2.
Yeah, kind of, in a way. I also liked how the story was a little more complex and like Dr. Wily's at it again. Ultimately, Dr. Wily's at it again, but there was he was on the side of good at the beginning of this game, and you're like, oh, cool, he saw the light. No pun intended, Dr. Light, but I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then as you get through the game, you're like, wait a minute, he's behind it the whole time. And I thought that was a cool twist.
I always thought it was funny. I just thought about it right now, and I didn't even think about this when I was talking about it. But after you beat all the Doc robots and you go back and talk to Dr. Light, and he's like, oh no, while you were getting the last element, Dr. Wily ran off with Gamma. And here's me, like, at 10 years old, like, what the hell is Gamma? It's like they don't tell you that. There's no prologue in the game screen. So if you don't have I don't know if it says anything in the instruction manual about that. It might, but if you don't have the manual, it's like you have no idea like what that is or what it means. Matter of fact, you have no idea that Wily's even helping you,
right,
as a good guy or faking being good at all.
Yeah.
As far as you know, if you just turned the game on and started playing, Dr. Wily stole Gamma, however you want to pronounce it, while you were just
doing the
killing
job.
other monsters or robots. So, sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
No,
please
that's okay.
continue.
No, that's what I have to say. I think you touched on a lot of it last time, but yeah, that was my first Mega Man game. It's my favorite Mega Man game. And that's why it.
Oh, did you say you had a story about?
Yeah,
that?
I don't know precisely because when I heard this, it was like, nah, was it the first? Was it the second game or the third? Apparently, after I believe the first game, they let the fans decide on the robots. So like people would write in back then. There wasn't really email, but they would write in. They'd be like, I had some ideas for some robots, and like Woodman, and they'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool, and they went with it. So I don't know about the later ones, like 8, 9, and 10 or whatever, but I know like either from the second one or the third one on, at least to the NES, all of those robots were suggested by fans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kind of funny that.
Because I remember there was a Nintendo Power contest where people would submit robots and drawings of them.
Could be them.
And they made a big stink because 2 of them got selected. Centaur Man was one of them, and I can't remember the other one. But I remember they made a big stink about it, and they even showed like a picture during the credits of the robot and designed by, this person instead of like an actual game designer.
Cool.
Yeah.
So maybe it might have gotten from things like that, but that's what I heard. I don't know how true it is.
Yeah, and I remember you made or started making some sort of like Mega Man encyclopedia when you were like a little kid. When we were kids, I should say. Because I remember I thought it was really cool, so I came home and tried making one also.
I don't remember doing this.
No, I don't remember too much about yours. I think you just, but I remember I'm like, that's a good idea. I should make something like that. But I remember listing all the Robot Masters from like Mega Man's 1 through 4 was the most recent one at the time. I even drew like a picture of like a Mega Man 1-up for each of them and the color. Like,
oh wow!
Like I have like markers and colored in like his helmet to match what he would be when he has that weapon, and I think I put like the name of the weapon he got and how many shots you would get if your bar was full, and all that. So, I only got like 2 or 3 pages worth of that stuff, but I wonder if I still have that because I have a lot of crap.
Yeah, a lot of your stuff.
Yeah. You remember that game I made of like Super Yoshi Brothers?
Yeah.
I made it. It was essentially I don't know. It was like Yoshi turned like it was like a beat 'em up with Yoshi, except in like a Mario World setting, and you get all these like special items.
Yeah.
It was like there's like 50 different type of shells you could eat to get like special powers and all these different things. But I still have the instruction booklet.
No
that
kidding.
I
Wow.
do, that I made up for that game. It's so horrible, so lame. Although some things were kind of clever, I think. Although I can't think of any off the top of my head. I remember, I guess one thing was there was like a bonus land. Well, that wasn't really original either because the special world was a bonus in Super Mario World. But I remember there's a bonus boss that, like, if you beat Bowser, once you beat Bowser, the game really technically wasn't over. There was an additional land that you had the option of going to called like Excellentio Maximum Land.
I remember that. Yeah.
Excellentio Maximum, yes, that's what I call the land. I remember one of the lands was Lakeland
Lakeland. Oh,
because I named it after our high
school.
school. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I want Lakeland to be. I'm like, Lakeland. So I'll just make it a lake. And that'll be the water world. So I had, I think, a bizarre land, which everything was like, trees would grow upside down. It's like the leaves would be on the ground, the roots would be in the air, mountains were upside down.
Oh, that's cool.
There was colorless land where everything was in black and white. I'm getting way off topic. We can talk about that. I'll bring up the manual next time and I'll read through it or something. My number 10 is Street Fighter II: The World Warrior, which was out in the arcades in '91 and the SNES in 1992. First time I saw this game, I was walking through the arcade at Knoebel's amusement park, which is
Oh my gosh, they
yeah.
had an arcade there. Yeah.
Yes, I
Maybe
think they still do.
they
Actually,
still do, yeah.
It's certainly not what it used to be. But Knoebel's, it's a small little, not small, but it's a nice family amusement park.
Yeah.
Down in
Elysburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Elysburg,
Yeah.
which is, I guess, south. Well, I guess maybe central eastern. It's like north of Philly, I think, and south of us.
Yeah, it's kind of
Maybe a little bit west.
headed toward the middle of the state. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm bad with my geography, but I did one of those classic double take, stop, take a few steps backwards,
Yeah.
to the arcade cabinet, and some dude was playing it, and I couldn't believe how bright and fluid the graphics and gameplay were at the time. The dude ended up getting like his ass kicked by Blanca. Like, I must have watched like 6 or 7 different guys in a row try and beat Blanca, only to get beaten down. And I know now it's because they beat the other 6 characters, and the rubber band AI pretty much made Blanca really difficult. But I was fascinated to see like how many very different type of characters there were. I mean, prior games, you're usually limited to 1 or 2 guys that were either palette swaps or incredibly similar, like Double Dragon, Bad Dudes, Crime Fighters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, ER Kung Fu, that type of stuff. It was also cool that each fighter had his or her own fighting style, and each had their own individual weak, medium, and strong kicks and punches. So, counting Kin and Ryu as one, since they're just a head and palette swap, that's 42 different standing punch and kick styles for the playable character. And that's not counting the close-up range punches and kicks, which are sometimes different.
Mm-hmm.
Nor is it counting the standing jump and the moving jump style punches and kicks. So, I mean, that's somewhere over like 100 moves per character. Mix that in with throws and special moves, you got probably like at least 800 different moves to try. So, which is one thing I always thought Street Fighter 2 like had over Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Mortal Kombat, all the players basically had the same punches, kicks, uppercuts, roundhouses, and sweeps.
My thing with Mortal Kombat, I'm not going to say much about it, but my thing with Mortal Kombat that always held it back for me was, and this is even today, is that it always felt stiff compared to Street Fighter. And it's just its style. It's just a stiff fighting game. But
yeah, and I don't like in Mortal Kombat that blocking is its own button.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to do stuff without having to like push buttons to block too. Street Fighter had it right. If you're moving backwards, you're defending. You're defending.
Yourself. Yeah.
So backwards is the defense. So as much as I wanted to, I never actually played the arcade game until the SNES port came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because after seeing guys much older than me get crushed, I didn't want to waste my quarters. The game just looked way too hard and complex. Plus, I didn't know how to do any special moves, which is almost necessary to win once the AI starts trying to win.
Yeah.
You know, I eventually got it for the SNES, and I played the hell out of it and became very dangerous with the character Kin and thus Ryu. I became a student of the game, and I figured out by trial and error and observation exactly what moves took priority over others based on when they were executed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Which made me and my circle of friends unbeatable with Kin and Ryu, pretty much.
Yeah, you're really good. Even when I got Street Fighter 4. And
Yeah.
I had everybody over the house who like never lost.
Some moves, yeah, some things just translated well through all the iterations. But yeah, Kin and Ryu, their moves are just too strong. With the correct timing, they beat or canceled out almost all the characters' special moves. So I guess that would classify me as a counterpuncher, because I'd wait for people to do something and just
never respond.
Yeah, and just see in time when they're vulnerable for my move. So there was very little that people could try that I didn't know how to defeat, or at least avoid or block with little or no damage done to me, without putting them in a severely disadvantageous position. I was actually at the point where I could easily beat the game on its hardest difficulty setting, but the one thing I never did was go through the entire game without losing one round on the hardest difficulty level. Several times I beat it only losing one round in total.
Wow.
Yeah, which that one round loss was usually to Balrog or Blanca. See, I still say Blanca sometimes because that's how I thought it was pronounced as a kid, because I thought it was pronounced like blanket. But so I'll probably never accomplish it now without using an emulator or save states of beating the game without losing a round. And the only reason I would lose to Balrog is because he would cheese you. Like, he would just start doing his special uppercut constantly, and since the computer could just do it whenever it wanted without charging, having to charge the move up.
Yeah, that sucked.
He would just your recoil from blocking, he would be doing the next one before you could have a chance to stand up, and he would just pin me in the corner and just do those special moves and slowly whittle down my life. And it's like, damn it. And you know, I still pronounce, and we talked about this before, I still mispronounce Ryu's name as Ryu, so you'll hear me say that. And like I said, I used to say Blanca's name with the long A sound, but those aren't as bad as what we heard those kids saying that one time. You know, we had I heard kids say Gully or Gil instead of Guile. I've heard kids say Doll-ism instead of Dollsum.
Oh, that's
Barlog instead of Balrog. And our favorite, Zancleef.
Yeah.
Instead of Gang. I don't know how they get that. I can sort of see how the C and the G look the same, but there's clearly no L in that name.
No.
So, stupid kids. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. My next one is Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Oh.
Yeah, I actually love fighting games, and I'm not good at really any of them, but I love them just the same.
Mm-hmm.
And Street Fighter, the 84 different variants of Street Fighter 2 are my favorites.
Yeah.
There's been so many.
Once I got the Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, I started like, wait a second.
I was like, shouldn't this just be 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So you had Street Fighter 2 on the SNES, and I didn't, and I love that game and I wanted it, but Turbo came out, and there was a sale at some store on Super Nintendo games. They were all like half off, and I'm like, oh, well, get Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So my mom took me to the store, and apparently like all of them were except for this one game, because it had just come out and it was like $80.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I got it, and I got home and I was playing it, and my father found out that, I bought this ridiculously expensive game, and he's like, we're taking that game back. I'm like, okay. Cause I kind of got it. Like, even as like a 12-year-old or however old I was like, makes sense, I guess. But for whatever reason,
and that's $80 like 1990 money.
Yeah. It was 92 or when I have no idea when that was, but it was early 90s. So we're talking expensive. I don't know why it was that much.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
It shouldn't have been more than 50 back then.
It shouldn't have been, but it was. For whatever reason, I never had to give it back. I never had to take it back. Maybe they talked it out and I got to keep it. But Turbo was my favorite version of that game, even actually more than Super Street Fighter 2, because I felt like at that point it really was a different game. they
Yeah.
added those extra characters. The balance was different, and it was
Yeah.
just it was a different game. But Turbo, I thought, was kind of like the perfect version of that, and that's the one I owned. So that's why it's on my list. Yeah,
Very nice.
perfect fighting game.
My number 9 is going to be Double Dragon 2: The Revenge for the NES.
Oh my god, no.
I failed to do my homework and write down the year that came out. I think it was 1990, though. For the NES, I found and still find this game highly enjoyable. I was thrilled to see it was on 3DS. This game is actually the game that prompted me to want to get Nintendo in the first place.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Believe it or not, there's actual video evidence. I was more excited about getting this game for Christmas from Santa than the other game I got that year, which is further down the list.
Ooh.
The NES version of Double Dragon and Double Dragon 2 share an interesting trait that they take some elements of the respected arcade games, but they also try to be their own game.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Double Dragon added some RP elements like gaining experience and earning special abilities, which thinking about it now, it's like when somebody who's going to fight a bunch of guys want to know some
You'd
moves
want to know.
before
Yeah.
starting. Like,
You might want to know the spin kick before
Yeah.
you get in there.
it's like I'm gonna go start fighting a bunch of street thugs, and after punching them and kicking them for a while, you don't suddenly learn an elbow. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, that Double Dragon added some RP elements. Double Dragon 2 added some platforming elements and added a little bit more of a story via cutscenes and before the stages. Double Dragon 2 is, in my mind, the best Double Dragon game of the entire franchise.
Yeah, I agree.
And this includes the arcade games.
Agreed.
Especially since Double Dragon 1 and 2 for the arcade were essentially clones.
Yeah. Except
so-
one she gets punched in the stomach and one she gets shot.
Yeah. But once you're able to grasp the concept of punch kick dependent on the direction you're facing control method, fighting was easy to pick up, and you could hold your own with only a few elementary moves in this game. Special moves were a perfect balance of difficulty to pull off versus strength and effectiveness. So the Hurricane Kick isn't too tough to do, but enemies duck it frequently. But that Rising Hyper Knee is really hard to pull off, but you almost always land it, and it's the strongest move in the game. The game physics, while kind of unrealistic, gave you that comic book superhero type feeling. Like, let's take the uppercut move for example. In Double Dragon, the original arcade, and the NES version, the uppercut makes the enemy kind of fall backwards and down. Double Dragon 2 for the NES is like, wham! The guy launches 15 feet vertically, traveling a nice parabolic arc before smacking down to the ground. It's so great. And the one thing I think that adds to the game is that the characters don't bounce when they land. In Double Dragon for the NES, I always hated the way the guys would sort of bounce slowly off an edge.
Yeah.
Like they're full of helium. In Double Dragon 2 for the NES, they slam on the ground in a crumpled heap with a gratifying thud. It's nice. The levels are designed and well detailed. The character sprites are good looking. I especially like some of the characters' scream faces when they get punched or thrown through the air. The music is really good, from the mellow night music of At the Heliport level to the eerie music of the Double Illusion to the adrenaline pumping final confrontation. The game managed to have a good balance of visuals, fun, variety, control, difficulty, and sound.
I like that game. You know what I like in that game is that always stuck out in my mind is that I think it's like only like level 2 or 3 where you end up on the helicopter and you got to fight in the helicopter and the doors open. You can get sucked out. That was cool. It was a fun part.
And what's
of it.
actually, and I just thought of this. What's kind of unique to this game is, at least I have yet to see it in another game, where the beginning of the last level, there's different cutscenes depending on who's playing.
Yeah.
If you're there with Billy, he says one thing. If you're there with Billy and Jimmy, they'll talk to each other in the cutscene. And if you're there with just Jimmy, he says his own thing. So it's nice that the game changes depending on who's
around, who's there. Yeah. Yeah. Good choice. Good
Nice,
choice.
nice.
Yeah, my number 8 is New Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo DS.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah. I walked into a Best Buy the day that the DS Lite came out, and the guy, I just wanted to see. I don't even think I went for that reason. I think I knew it was out, but I used to go there a lot to spend my money. And I walked in, and the one guy's like, "Hey, would you like to try this new Nintendo DS?" I'm like, "Yes, I would." As a matter of fact, it would. And I only had to play New Super Mario Brothers for about 5 seconds to be like, "Well, sir, here's my money." But I love that game. It's Super Mario Brothers, but with newer graphics and the new levels. Basically, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a new game, but it has the feel of those old, the old 8-bit game, and I just love that game. I still love that game. It like kind of defined the DS for me for a long time, and then after a while I played a lot of other things, but for a while it was like the standard. I'm like, you want to try the DS? You try this game, you know?
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved getting that huge mushroom,
The mega mushroom,
and then just
yeah.
like smashing through everything.
Everything.
It was great. Yeah, that was that game was. I expected to like it because it was a Mario Brothers game, but it like has really stood the test of time. I have New Super Mario Brothers 2 for the 3DS, and it doesn't have the same magic. It's not quite there.
They did
good.
right putting that mega mushroom in the very first level, because
Yeah.
I know, like, when you're like, here, try this game, I played it, got that mega mushroom, just plowed through everything, like,
Yeah.
this is so awesome. I want one of these.
Yeah.
It's a good sell.
Definitely, yeah, and yeah. I mean, I played the other ones, like the one on the Wii. I liked. I didn't love, but that first one, the New Super Mario Brothers, is just killer. You know, it could be my. I guess it's one of, I won't say about something further down the list.
Oh, okay.
But I'll just say it's out of all like the older side-scrolling Mario games, it beats most of them. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's all I really got to say about it.
Okay. For me, my number 8 is close relative, Super Mario World. SNES 1990, 1991 in North America. Super Mario World was a great launch title for the SNES.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about during our Super Mario podcast, so some of this might be restatements here, but it was great, if not the perfect launch title, I think, for that system. When I first saw the game in action, I couldn't believe how colorful it was and how rich the sounds were. Sprites were now shaded, like, wow, shading. And listen, you hear that? When Mario jumps in any sort of cavernous area, like Vanilla Dome or underground, his jump has reverb. And the background isn't just a static single color or pattern. It's got several layers that actually individually parallax. Holy crap. So, and the famous story I have for this game is when the first time I ever saw it, I was at the now defunct local retailer Service Merchandise in Dixon City, which now is where the Sheath and TGI Fridays are.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes when I'm eating at TG. Well, I haven't eaten there in a long time, but I'm picking at some fries. I'm like, there's Super Nintendos in here, right here.
Right here where I'm eating.
Conveyor belt was right here.
But they had the system behind glass and had Super Mario World running on it. You weren't a kid, you couldn't play because the controllers were also behind the glass, which kind of stunk. But I told my mom I wanted to stay and watch it while she shopped, and she let me. And she was only a few aisles away, and the display was actually in kind of like a big, wide open area, so it's not like I was abandoned or out of sight. Plus, it was the early '90s, and it was different times. You could kind of leave kids.
You could.
You kind of leave kids. They didn't have to be right next to you all the time. You could leave them, and they'd not have to worry too much. But I must have watched that 30-second demo for like 45 minutes straight, and I did not get bored of it. The only thing I kept thinking was the fact that I would never own that system, because having just got the NES the prior Christmas, I thought for sure, like, well, I just wasted my my system on the NES. It actually took me a year after its launch to get one, so I got mine the following Christmas after that, which I think would be 93 maybe. I don't know, my dates are all mixed up, and I'm slowly converting all our VHS, our family home movies to digital format.
Oh, good idea.
So I'm I gotta look and really find out when I got my SNES, because it's been bothering me since like our very first podcast. But when I found out you got one for that Christmas, which I think was '92, I remember just going up to your house on the 26th and playing it, and I was quite surprised to find out you had actually already beaten it.
Yeah, I didn't stop playing the whole Christmas day.
Yeah, your dad mentioned to me, like, when I walked in the door that you played it for like 15 hours on Christmas. He's like, oh yeah, I beat it already. I'm like, he did? He's like, yeah, he played it for like 15 hours. So what could be said about the gameplay? Damn near perfect, really. You're in total control, like its predecessors, Super Mario 2 and 3. Each land had its own theme, which were playfully associated ecosystems and areas with a type of food. Ice was vanilla, rocks were chocolate, mountains were cookies. The addition of Yoshi was a great asset, and it was fun making him eat almost everything. The enemies were clever and colorful, but I admit and mentioned before that I think this is the game where Super Mario enemies became part of the scenery, or placed there to be cute and show off technical capabilities of the console, as opposed to being enemies strategically placed to kill you like they were in Super Mario 1, 2, and 3. Like, for example, larger enemies like Dino Rhinos and Bonsai Bills. Larger-than-life enemies at the time, but less of a threat than their smaller counterparts. Like, those Bonsai Bills were so huge, and you're like, wow, look how big they are. But
Yeah.
there's only one of them on the screen at a time. You just easily duck under it. Where when there's 3 or 4 bullet bills coming in different directions, it's a lot harder to dodge that. Like I said with the graphics earlier, sprite shading and parallaxing backgrounds were amazing, going from the dull, flat, sharp-edged look of Mario 3 to the rounded, full-looking, and bright Super Mario World was a huge step, but there were nifty little graphical themes that for the first time you saw them, you were amazed. Like the translucence that made Boo Buddies look ghostly, the little sparkles that fly off you when you're invincible, being able to spin around the other side of a chain link fence, and Bowser's clown car flying right into the camera. I remember when you were showing me Bowser and I saw that, I felt like I had to duck out of the way because it seemed like the clown car was going to come flying into the living room. I was so amazed by it. The game was also loaded with secrets and bonuses, but not overloaded like Donkey Kong Country was. With the exception of Yoshi's Island, the first world, not the game, every other world had at least 2 routes to get to the next world. And then there's the Star World, which in my opinion counts as a bonus world. And then on top of that, there's the Special World, which is like a bonus. And then when you beat that, the world changes colors and some enemies change. And when you're done with that, you can even try to go through the game and get all the gates, so you get a little star by your gate count when you start the game. All these little secrets and bonuses and everything made the game special and high replayability. And to top it off, Larry Koopa, my favorite Koopa kid, went from being the bottom rung to the top dog of the Koopa kids in that game.
Yeah, that's right. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. Yeah,
That was the first thing I noticed. I'm like, all right, Larry's number 7. He's right there in Valley of Bowser. He's no longer the lamest one. So yeah, great game. I still play it to this day. I remember I got it for as a birthday present from Kat.
Yeah.
Kat and TJ, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So
cool.
yeah.
It's a very good choice. That is not my next one. I just screwing with you. My next one was already talked about tonight.
Oh.
You did a rank 'em on it.
Oh.
The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess.
Ooh, good
Actually,
choice.
yeah,
Great choice.
yeah. That game, it's friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. I read about this game online, and like it seems like it's somewhat polarizing.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but people seem to either love it or not hate it. I don't find a lot of hate, but like just like disappointment or something. Like it's straight or something, or it's just too boring. I don't know, but I don't see any of that. I think it's awesome.
I mean, there's a lot of people that complain. It's like, well, it's just a rehash of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I'm like, well, it's not. But
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't see it. But I got this game as a launch game, as you did to the Wii, and I remember when it was being worked on, it was originally supposed to be a GameCube game, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome. And then like the Wii was coming out, and I'm like, well, screw the GameCube version, which now a lot of people say they prefer.
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. But no, I love this game. I think that they really gave a lot of people the Zelda game that people wanted, right? Because we had the Wind Waker, and everybody was like, well, you looked at this realistic looking Zelda, and you gave us this cartoon, and like, okay, well, fine. Here's
Here's your real Zelda.
Here's your real Zelda, and I thought they did an awesome job. I like
Me too.
all the areas you mentioned are all pretty awesome. I like the temples. I did mention a couple episodes ago I didn't care for Snow Peak, but that, I think if I played it again, maybe it would be different. I liked all those. I remember dreading going into the waterbed temple, and I ended up loving it, and maybe not loving it, but I liked it. But the story was good. I liked all that Twilight stuff, like you mentioned before. It was just so unnatural, and it's like I was like offended that it was in a Zelda game, because I'm like, no, this isn't right. Like, it's not supposed to be there. So like, you really wanted to flush it out. And,
Yeah.
bring Hyrule back, and it was a dark game.
Yes.
Majora's Mask probably beats it, just out of how ruined that world is going to be, and it's just like, man, that sucks. These people are gonna die. But in Twilight Princess, like, it has this oppressed feeling, and like right from the start of the game, like, you meet Zelda, and you almost has like defeat like on her, where she's she's dressed dark, and she's just like
she's going to a funeral.
Yeah, looking out the window, and it's just like, well, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And you kind of get the sense of like, all right, I got to do something here. But I always felt very heroic in that game. You do in every Zelda game, but that one, for some reason, I don't know if it was just the freedom you were given with, riding on Epona and shooting and stuff. I don't know what it was, but there was many moments in that game where I just felt like a real epic hero. Mm-hmm. The Arbiter Grounds boss was the
Star-Lord.
Yeah, that one. There's like nothing like that when you're like riding on the thing, and it's just amazing. That game really, I think, was better than I expected it to be, and I didn't take time off to play it, but I spent every waking moment playing that game. Like when I wasn't at work, it was like, okay, I gotta play this game.
Technically, I didn't start playing that game until 2 or 3 days after I got the Wii. I intentionally put it off.
Yes, you did.
Because I had this notion that I'm like, I know, like, the Wii is brand new to me. I know if I start playing Twilight Princess, I'm going to be distracted by the Wii, by other games. I don't want that to happen to Twilight Princess. I want full attention to Twilight Princess and no attention to any other Wii games. I held out for about 2 or 3 days before I'm like, I gotta play it.
Yeah.
Because my original plan was to wait like a week or two, and so I get like the Wii newness out of my system, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to play it. It's there. I own it. It's in my hand, and so.
Did I finish that game before you?
Yes, you did, because I did not want to do the City in the Sky. I was so worried that it was going to be an awful temple that I put off doing it for like a week. Because I'm like, I just don't want to go. And I think it had something to do with my fear of heights, like playing and like, this is going to be a really scary temple. You don't want to go to it. It's kind of like when I play Silent Hill sometimes. Like, I'll think about like all day about playing it, and I'll come home like, I don't want to play because I don't want to be scared. So... yeah, I think you finished it maybe like 2 or 3 days before me, despite the fact that I had like a week head start on you.
Right. Yeah. It just hit me. I was like, I think I finished it first.
And you finished it because you're like, let me know when you're done. I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But great game, and it definitely deserved to be on my list. So it is where it is.
Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit more. But not now. But in a similar vein, my number 7, Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
Really?
GameCube 2002. Our lists are very, very similar.
They're getting more and more similar as we get closer.
I do Street Fighter, you do Street Fighter. You do a Mario, I do Mario.
Yeah.
You do a Zelda, I'm doing a Zelda. This is creepy shit.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Censor that out. I love this game because it proved me wrong.
Yes, it did. You were not high on this game.
I was
Yeah.
not. I admit, I was one of those that initially knee-jerk revolted against the game because Nintendo opted for cell shading instead of the more realistic demo they showed.
You were one of those people.
I was one of those people, and I own it. And I will admit that I was wrong. For the first time in my life, I was. Yeah, from the first time I played it a little bit in Target, I thought it looked way too kiddish, and I was already somewhat like biased against it by that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, but going from the gritty semi-realism of Ocarina and Majora's Mask, these bright cartoons, was a little bit of a shock. I kind of felt silly playing it in Target, running around while carrying a pig overhead that snorts every time you take a step. It was like as you're running. And yes, I went and threw the pig in the ocean just to see what would happen. And let's not kid ourselves, we've all done that. And it swims back to shore.
We've done that.
We've all done it. I also hated those little swirls the bombs made. The second time I ever played it was the time I decided to play it all the way through. This was summer of 06. Because remember we used to go jogging together.
Yes, and I think I was telling you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is when we lived right down the street from each other. And I'd give you updates as my game progressed, as we would be running. Because I knew I had to get through that game before Twilight Princess came out that autumn, in case Twilight Princess referenced anything from it.
Yeah. Did it? I forget. No, it did not.
No, it did not. No.
Yeah.
Did not. No. Yeah. It was on a different time. Well, it's not a different timeline. It's just way
before. Yeah.
So Twilight Princess Wind Waker would have referenced something from Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Anyway, playing through it made me realize just what a great game I had missed out on all that time. And the more I played it, the more I realized, wow, this is a really good game. And after a while, the cartoon-like graphics didn't even register in my mind. Except for those bomb swirls. How I loathed them. One thing I have to do is play this game again and take time to do all the side quests. Like use the picto box and
There's
stuff.
a lot to do, yeah.
Yeah, because I started doing that. The first time I just made a beeline right through the game and missed a lot of stuff. And actually, I guarantee I missed a ton of stuff. But I was playing it in that middle of that summer, and the Wii and the Princess were coming. Wii and Twilight Princess were coming out in a few months, so I felt like I had an end of summer deadline. And then I didn't know any idea of how big or small the game was or how long it would take me to complete it. So it was just main story, main story, main story, main story. As for the game itself, well, it takes some nitpicking to find some flaws in the game. The most common one is there's too much sailing on the ocean, but let's face it, if it only took 10 seconds to get from place to place, it would kill any concept of the largest of the world.
Yeah.
And come on, it's an ocean. Things are supposed to be far apart. I personally enjoyed sailing. The heroic music going on, the seagulls that soar along with your boat. It's actually pretty cool in my opinion. I appreciate the sailing aspect of it. And it wasn't totally boring. We talked before about how there's things to do. Sailing through the barrels, avoiding sharks, sinking enemy ships, raiding the watchtowers, finding sunken treasure. As mentioned in the last podcast, I believe, cell shading allowed this game to age very well.
Yeah, I was just playing it not that long ago, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, other than the 480i resolution, the models all look good. I come to appreciate the cell shading style and the visual styles that come with it. Like, there's no blending. Everything is hard-edged, which is really, really neat. Really neat artistic style. I love how the waves on the ocean are kind of like upside-down V's. And then they throw in, like, some elements of realism. Like, when you look above a flame, the image is, like, distorted from the heat coming off of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I also mentioned this last podcast, while cell shading, in my opinion, can't really pull off grittiness, it's still able to pull off intense moments, like sailing to the Forsaken Fortress during the thunderstorm while the Demon Ganon's playing, or fighting those giant Octoroks in the whirlpools, or the Great Palace rising from the sea,
Yeah.
or going down into submerged Hyrule for the first time. Those are pretty powerful moments. One thing I often overlook with this game is the music, and I think that might be because the graphics are usually a talking point of the game.
Yeah.
But the music is incredible, which is the norm for a Zelda game. The title theme sets you in your sea voyaging mood. The legendary hero theme during the telling of the hero of time legend really makes you feel how powerful and important that tale is.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean theme, as I said, makes you feel very heroic as you're sailing around in the ocean. The Forest Haven theme is very tribal, yet an elegant version of the Kokiri Forest theme. The theme from the Tower of Gods is awe-inspiring and kind of imposing, a theme worthy of the gods. I especially love that droning bass throughout the whole of it. It's really, really, really neat. I guess my minor complaints would be, one, the temples, in my opinion, aren't as good as the temples from like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, or Skyward Sword. They're still good, just not. They have some stiff competition. Two, finding Triforce pieces seem kind of mundane to me. Like Triforce pieces resting in unguarded treasure chests at the bottom of the sea. How did they get there?
Yeah.
And three, when an enemy strikes you, it makes a musical sound effect, which I don't like. I'd rather it just be like, even with just like some sort of explosive sound or concussive type sound.
Yeah, that was a kind of a deliberate thing they did, wasn't it?
Yeah,
To make it
makes it seem less violent.
musical notes and stuff.
Dun 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 dun. It's like, I'm not playing a song, I'm fighting somebody. Come on. And four, there's a little bit more comic relief than I tend to like. Like the moblins acting surprised when you steal their necklace off them. They're like the
Yeah.
that shocked face. Or like when Link gets pasted against the wall when he's like shot through the cannon. Or when Link falls in lava, he like jumps up and burns his butt. So everything else about the game is killer. Except those damn swirls the bombs make. I can't stand those. Oh, and while I know this, they really couldn't do this, and I feel like there's no time I would have a chance to mention this, I really wish I was able to explore more of the land submerged in Hyrule at the end of the game. I think that would have been neat if they let you roam around a bit instead of railroading you right to the final temple.
It's very specific, yeah.
Even if they didn't put a single thing on the land for you to do or get, it still would have been a neat addition to have a new area to explore. I think it would have been fun to discover a great basin that was Lake Hylia,
That would have been cool.
or a broken up forest that was Kokiri Forest, or a big sandy area that was Gerudo Desert. I'm going to mispronounce that for the rest of my life. I don't even know. But yeah, a big sandy area that was the desert. Like, it just would have been cool instead of... That was like one thing that really I was kind of bothered about when I was at the end of the game. I'm like, oh, I want to go over there. Right there. I want to go over. But they wanted you to go to that temple, and I can see why. So there's something else I want to say about it, but I don't know if it's really appropriate time and place. Plus, this is already going pretty long. But screw it. I'll mention it.
Yeah,
because I don't know
ahead.
when else I'm going to be able to get a chance to talk about this. But I had this idea that it would have been neat if there was, I don't want to say like a rogue programmer or something, but just I don't even know if it would be considered an Easter egg. I guess it would, but like when you're sailing and if you go to the edge of the map, King of Red Lions is like, it's dangerous out this way, or there's nothing out here, let's turn around.
Turns around, yeah.
If there was a small area that maybe a 20-foot gap in that imaginary barrier or 10-foot gap, that if you sail the right place, you go through it. And if you sail for like an hour straight in that direction, there'd be an island out there. I don't know what would be on it. It's just maybe a special weapon or something.
The Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, something weird like that.
That would have been cool.
It would have been. But nobody would know about it or tell about it. It'd just be like a rumor. And maybe if people took the ROM apart and like, oh yeah, it exists. Getting to it would be so difficult that people would actually doubt its existence. Because it's such a specific area you would have to sail through. You essentially have to bounce. Hey, we can't go this way. And he turns around, sails out, go like 5 feet, bounce. Hey, we can't go this way. And it would take you like all day just to figure out the right spot to hit. The best you could do is just have like a quadrant to try. But Stuff like that, I think, would be really, really awesome.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like, I was going through again. I'm no, another tangent. Sorry, but I was going through some of our old conversation that I stumbled upon one where I said, "Wouldn't it be neat?" I was saying to you if they had if Nintendo put this really weird hidden Easter egg in The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, where at the very beginning of the game, when Link's uncle says, "I'm going out, don't leave the cabin," and if you let the game off for like 18 straight hours, he comes back in with Zelda, you know, and he says that he defeated Ganon, and then the credits roll. So if you actually listen to him and stay in the cabin the whole entire time for like 18 straight hours, he wins.
There's a game that just came out not that long ago, I think, that has something like that.
Really?
Yeah. Far Cry 4, I think it was whatever the newest one is out. I think there's an early part in the game where the guy who I think he ends up being the villain, but you meet with him at the beginning and you sit down in some chair or something, and he like leaves you there and he's like, "Stay here, don't go anywhere." And if you stay there, don't go anywhere, he eventually comes back and the game ends.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, somebody did it, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Nice, cool. I love stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'll have to read up on that.
yeah. I just heard about it a couple of weeks ago. And I didn't put that together, but until you mentioned it.
Cool. So that's all I have to say about that. That's my number 7.
Cool. My number 6 is Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
Well, have at it.
Right. I don't know if you've played this game, but
Tell me what you think of the bomb swirls.
I'm cool with them.
Oh, okay.
I'm cool with the bomb swirls. This game was actually my favorite Zelda game for a while. After I played it, I was like, this is my favorite one.
Which is a good choice.
Yeah, and I just over time, actually sitting and thinking about it, I was like, no, it's not as good as that one. No, it's not as good as that one. I don't like it as much as that one. And it dropped a couple, but just a hint, I guess, to next week's episode. But it's when I played that game, it was so much better than I thought it was going to be, that it gave me that impression for a long time that I'm like, this is the best.
Mm-hmm.
As today, I mean, I haven't played through the game in a while. I played it a few months ago on my GameCube just to roam around and play. But that game was the reason about the GameCube. But the music is my favorite from the whole series.
Good choice.
Yeah, and I listen to it today. Like I listen to it now. I'll be in the kitchen or whatever, and I have an Amazon Echo. It's this thing you talk to, and it does stuff for you, and it's the future. But one of the things you could do is have it bring up your music from Amazon. So I'm always like, play the Wind Waker soundtrack, and it does. And it's my son loves the music, and I love the music, and I whistle to it around the house and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's the game has kind of a certain. I have an emotional attachment to that game that very few other games have ever given me, because it feels wrong that you should have a young child go through all that.
Yeah. He stays a child the entire game, unlike Ocarina, where he eventually grows up.
Yep. And he's there. It's not even like Ocarina of Time when he's, in the woods and all of them are children. He's a kid who has a grandmother and a sister, and they love him, and there's a town that, is a perfect place for him to grow up in, and he doesn't get to stay there.
Yeah.
and it's just, there's something there. And then the part where you go down into the ocean and you go into Hyrule where it used to be, there's hints that like, hey, you're on top of Hyrule this whole time. There's hints of it. You see it, and you're just kind of like, oh, that's cool. They took this idea from here and here. But until you actually go down there, even when I went down into it, I'm like, like, ooh, what is this? And I start walking up the hill, and I'm like, wait a minute. I got such, like, it like shook me. I was like, this is my home. Like this game I've been playing for so many years. I'm like, this is my home. It's here. And then by the time you get to the end of the game, and spoiler alert, when you pretty much decide, like, well, let's just let it stay there. When it's covered in water, and it kind of tugs a little bit. I'm like, but that's all I know.
That's our Hyrule. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm like, it's gone. And this is before I knew about the timelines and stuff being split. So all I knew was like, okay, this must be the latest one in the game, in the series, and it's gone. Like everything that ever happened is gone. And it was this heavy moment. No other Zelda game ever did that for me. Ever. None of them. I don't know. All the rest of them to me were fun games with pretty cool stories. That one actually affected me. So it holds special meaning. And as a game, it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
I for a lot of the reasons you said. I mean, the temples are not as memorable to me for whatever reason as some of the other games. It's just, I don't know, they're not. But I love a lot of the side quests you have to do. Like, you just bump into an island and you're like, I wonder if there's anything here. Oh, there's a cave.
Yeah.
And there's stuff to do. I like that. It was it felt so expansive, and I guess even to standards of the other games, it is still a really big game.
Yeah.
But it just felt so much bigger. It's still not Zelda 2. I'm going to still nitpick about that forever, that they haven't made returned us to those lands.
Yeah.
Although the DS games are continuations of the Wind Waker, and there is possibly some reason to believe that you're venturing out into areas there that was that old Hyrule, like those other parts of Hyrule. If you think about it, like, they explore further out from where the Wind Waker is.
Right.
And it's kind of like, well, I guess the rest of Hyrule could be there.
How's it not buried under the water? Also?
Well, it's still under, all that stuff is still pretty much covered. So, yeah. But, that's my game for number 6.
Very good choice. Very good choice. My number 6.
Twilight Princess?
No, it is not.
No, because it would have been funny that it just flipped.
Combo breaker here. My number 6 is Conker's Bad Fur Day. Nintendo 64, 2001.
That high on your list, eh?
Yeah. Originally, I only wanted this game because I heard it had beer, drug use, and gratuitous violence mixed with cute, furry, cartoon-like anthropomorphic animals.
So it did have all that, yeah.
Yes, which meant the game must have been cool. Back then it's like, they have a bunch of like furry animals drinking beer and like gratuitous violence getting dismembered. Oh, I want to buy that game. It sounds great. When you're in college and you think like that type of stuff. But anyway, there's more than this game than just the initial shock value. It's a wonderful surprise, and it's a shame the game came out at the end of the N64's life cycle and was passed over by so many. A lot of people don't realize what a gem Bad Fur Day is. Behind all the potty humor, foul language, sexual overtones, and violence, it's a solid 3D platformer that's clever and fun. Characters in the game all have personality, and the voice acting is great. The dialogue is funny and witty. It's a great cast of characters. All the movie parodies it does are great.
Yeah.
From mimicking intro, like A Clockwork Orange, to Bram Stoker's Dracula, to Saving Private Ryan. They pretty much reenact the whole beach scene.
Yeah. That's right. That was funny.
even strange parts, like one squirrel walking around, like always picks up his arm, and like the one soldier does. Matrix with bullet time, to Alien fighting it in that weird mechanical thing that Ripley uses in Aliens.
Yeah.
They're all done so well, and each parody changes the gameplay of that area, which keeps the gameplay fresh and interesting. The levels are gorgeous, which may not be the proper adjective, considering one level is a mountain of crap, literally. Yeah. It's called Big Pooh Mountain.
Yeah.
The levels are well designed and very detailed. The levels have a lot of variety. It's not just running and jumping from place to place like, say, Super Mario 64. There are levels where you ride jet-powered surfboards over lava, you ride dinosaurs, you play essentially a third-person shooter, and some levels where you fly as a bat. But even the levels where you wander around are laid out well. The zombie-infested mansion is unreal, complete with courtyard and small hedge maze. The Teddy's war bunker would make id Software proud. The audio, whether it's the music or sound effects, is fun when it needs to be and serious when it needs to be. Walking around Big Pooh Mountain, the music makes fart noises as drum fills. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But the bullets whizzing by and ricocheting off, or the muffled bomb explosions when you're in the bunker, sound like they were pulled right out of Saving Private Ryan. They might have been.
Maybe.
While the plot line isn't overly complex, it really boils down to try to get home, help characters in need, collect cash. The few solemn scenes in the game are actually quite powerful. Notable is the scene where Conker and the Sergeant are talking about the horrors of war, and the scene at the end with Conker's inner monologue about how one doesn't realize what one has until it's gone. And the very last scene where Conker staggers out of the bar, similar to the introductory scene, except he chooses to go in the other direction this time, hinting at possible sequel and new adventure in the other direction. Also worth mentioning is the multiplayer games, and boy, do you have your choice. My two favorites are Preventing the Frenchies from Escaping to Paris and the Total War 6-on-6. Those two are usually a staple for New Year's Eve parties, although we forgot to play them this year. So, parodies, funny lines, memorable characters, slick gameplay, tons of variety make Conker's Bad Fur Day an upper tier game for me. And that is my 10 through 6.
That was a good shot. I didn't expect that game.
Yeah.
Well, maybe on the list, but not that high. So,
Yeah.
it's very good. A couple things about that. I remember the original Conker game on the Game Boy Color.
Oh, wow.
And they said, Conker 64 is coming out. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Sure. He seems like a cute, cuddly character. And the game, pretty much looked like a cute, cuddly character running around in his world. And everybody hated it. So they went back to the drawing board. And before you knew it, they were like, we're going in a different direction with Conker. And I'm like, well, what are you possibly going to do with Conker? This is what we got.
Yeah.
So, and then they released, after Rare got purchased, because it is a Rare game, they released it on the original Xbox.
Yeah.
It looks awesome, even to today's standards.
Yeah.
It looks really good. Really good.
Though they censored more of it.
They did. They censored it,
weird.
which is funny, but they censored more of it. And, yeah, that's really bizarre. You wouldn't think, because it's an Xbox. It was kind of looking at a more mature audience, but I don't know why they decided to do that. Still pretty vulgar, I think. But
Yeah.
some the really bad stuff is censored out.
I love it. I still play it every year, and I really enjoy playing it on New Year's with with Frank and Eric and Daryl. It's a staple. I'm really surprised we didn't get a chance to play it this year, but we actually had a New Year's Eve party with more than just my friends. So
Yeah.
So we couldn't really hog the TV. Although we did. We played the Mario Kart 64 seemed to take a lot of... I don't know. We were busy hosting also as well. But
Yeah.
all New Year's Eve parties up to that point, it was broken out at some point. And I don't know. It's one of those things that, again, it's a nostalgia thing. It brings me back to college days. I remember when the game came out, Frank also got it right around launch time when we went up his house and we played it. I remember when Frank and I graduated college, we had a graduation party. I think you were at that too. It was pretty much the four of us, Frank, Alyssa, you, and me, and we just in his room and played video games. And I remember Conkers was one of them, and then we watched Joe Dirt, I think, and so just takes me back to that time. I just love playing that game, and I don't know, it's just a fun game. And again, all the parodies just make it so good. There's every so many major movies. You just name a major movie, it's probably in there. Terminator.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one-off line, it's in there. But,
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah, the jokes are funny, and I don't know, it's a great game, and I love it.
Cool. Conker made a comeback last year in a weird way. I think the game came out. It's called Project Spark on the Xbox One. they announced Conquer was going to be a character in it. I don't really know what it's about. I think you could like make your own kind of levels and stuff, and Conquer was available in there as a character. But I think the game ended up coming out without a lot of fanfare, and the fact that he was even in it was almost forgotten. So it was a hint that like maybe he'll come back, but I don't know. So maybe after Battletoads.
Yeah. Oh, I just love those the co-op of that game. It's just so much, or not the co-op though, the multiplayer. Just that usually Frank and I are the teddies, preventing the Frenchies from getting onto and he'll usually take the bazooka, and I'll usually take the sniper rifle, and that sort of thing. We're usually pretty lethal. We almost always win. But I even like the free for all like death match, and you go down like in the locker, the men's room, you like whiz all over each other.
Yeah.
That's your weapon. You have this big arc, like urine going over the lockers and hitting the guy on the other side or whatever. It's so funny that you can actually do that in a game. Like your weapon is peeing on somebody, and when you're done, he actually shakes his leg, which is friggin' hilarious. I just love this. He shakes a leg, and it's like.
And this was not only on a Nintendo console; it was published by Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, they made it known. They had a big warning on the box, like this game is not meant for anyone under the age of 18.
Yeah,
mature. They stamped it on there big time.
You've had a couple mature games. That was probably the most striking.
Yeah,
Eternal Darkness was another one.
Yeah, but that one I think they really want to make it known because of the cute furry animals.
Yeah.
If you look at Eternal Darkness or Mortal Kombat.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah, it's like, that's probably for adults, people like killing. But it's like furry squirrel, but he has a beer in his hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great game. Love it.
Yeah, well, I guess it's going to do it for our top, or the 15 of 20. So
15 of 20, yeah.
So we got 5 more to go.
5 more to go.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Yeah. Guess I will mention some upcoming plans for me.
Cool.
Really quick here. I will be doing a marathon live stream again soon. Apologies for the Silent Hill one. Laptop broke 2 days before I was supposed to do it.
Oh, no way, really? Oh.
Yeah. And I've just been so busy lately that I haven't got a chance to do another one. Haven't decided what game I'm going to do yet. I have a few to choose from. So we'll see. And I started saying at the beginning of the podcast, my upcoming gaming plans. I'm going to start The Last of Us next.
Mm-hmm.
And discussed with you, I want to play The Adventure of Link and beat it legitimately. I only ever beat it using Game Genie, and I actually did some research, and there's actually guides out there on how to maximize your chances of beating the game and how to get the most amount of lives, where to go to grind out your levels, where all the one-ups are, so you're fully prepared to go through, and when you're ready to make your final push to go to that last palace, because you're only like one crack at it.
Yeah.
To get, like, you have to go through. You could get all the items, beat the temples, but don't put the crystal in the temple. Just leave the temple. And then once you have all the items, go to this forest on the second island where there's these strong enemies. Level up to get till you max out all your experience things, all your life, all your attack, and all your magic. Then go back. Then when you're ready for your final push, go back, put all the crystals in, and every time when you put a crystal in, it'll max out your experience points, which, since you have nothing else to max out, it gives you an additional life. So that's 6 lives right there. Then you go get the couple of dolls, the 4 or 5 dolls, and you'll have like 10 lives, additional lives in addition to 3 you have. So you're going at the temple with like 13 or 14 lives.
Wow, that's smart.
Yeah. So that's the road I'm going to go. So the worst part is going to be grinding out the levels, but it's going to be tedious and repetitive, but I'm prepared, so I want to do it.
I sent a letter to Nintendo Power asking for directions on how to get through the
did you?
palace, and they got back to me with instructions on how to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It still didn't matter. I got my ass kicked. But
was it like written down instructions, or was there a map or anything? Or?
No, it was written down. Yeah, it was written down.
That must have been hard to follow.
It
First, go in this room, and go down the elevator. And
yeah, it was hard, but they did it. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty nice that they would do that.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
Very good. Very good.
I think it's a good spot to wrap it. We're at the 2.5 hour mark about.
Holy
just
crap.
about. couple minutes too. Yeah.
Could be a new record. I don't know. The last
Yeah,
one was pretty
might
long
be.
too.
Yeah, cool. All right.
All right.
Want to take us out?
Yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Kids. We promised to get this one out in a timely fashion, and we'll be we'll be back soon with another one. Hopefully soon. I would like.
Whatever day you listen to this, we just recorded it yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. This is from yesterday. But we'll be back soon, and we'll wrap up this last of the top 20.
What will be our top 5s?
Yeah.
Mine probably aren't that surprising, but
Mine may not be either.
anybody who knows me could probably guess my top 3 right off the bat. Or at least, may not be the correct order, but could probably name 3 games.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to talking to them about it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, that'll do it. So we'll see you next time. See you later, kids.
All right. Happy gaming.
Ready. Fire.